Rich Mitch, I love you. Yeah, buddy! My life is falling apart, and all you guys can do is find ways to make fun of me in the chat. Hello, Rich. Hello, chat. We love you all. Couldn't find a clean black shirt, so I had to go into the closet and dig this old thing out.
Outrageous.
Are you with us?
I'm with you. Can you hear us?
You know what I realize is I have the worst microphone in all of YouTube.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Why didn't you ever say anything?
No, I just think I'm not really bothered.
You should. I really wish you had said something, but now I know. So yeah, I did bust up my face shaving. Got a new razor. That's what delayed me. Sorry about that. Couldn't find a clean shirt, and I didn't want to take one out of the hamper. You know, my black uniform shirt. So I had to find a replacement, which is a reminder that I need to do laundry amongst other real life priorities instead of YouTubing. But anyway, YouTube is what brings us all together, our love for fragrance. And I had to stop. I kind of used original Polo to stop the bleeding. Thank you to Rich for his recommendation. I am a bleeder, and I don't stop bleeding until lots of time passes by. But you can see where I've cut myself up pretty bad. Richard, chat, how have you all been? Let us know in the comments. What's new? What's up?
I don't know. Just like kind of shocked about Thierry Mugler dying last night. Kind of sad. I decided to wear a Mugler fragrance. Excuse me. Decided to wear a Mugler fragrance today. One of my favorite fragrances. And do a little bit of not looking into Thierry Mugler, just looking at some of the effect he's had on the world. And I didn't realize he was 73. I didn't realize he was that old. I thought he was like in his 50s or something.
That old? I thought he was still really young to be gone at such an age.
It is. It's sad. We don't know what killed him either. Meatloaf died recently as well.
Right, and the other comedian went, Bob Saget, last weekend. And we already lost
kid
the Golden Girl.
Betty White.
Just kind of dropping.
And the model from the Blood of Chanel advert.
Gaspard Ulliel.
Ulliel.
Sure. Yeah.
He's in the new Moon Knight film.
That was a skiing accident. But
don't go skiing.
You know, it's just kind of a reminder of how precious life is, and you know, not to sound cliche, but to enjoy it while we're here.
Yeah.
So, you know, the question is, how do we best enjoy it while we're still here?
Perfume.
Is that what brings us all together here? What's up,
That's
Rudy?
what brings us all together. Yes. It brings us all together, but whether it actually matters or not, another thing. You know what I mean?
Well, what does matter? What is important?
What you attach importance to.
I agree. I very much agree. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, you know, going against the YouTube establishment. And, you know, instead of trying to be like everybody else to grow and be noticed, you know, be yourself and make a difference. Make a difference. I was on the Joey Cannoli stream on Friday. Really enjoyed myself. Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, I kind of mentioned it to you in comments and you didn't respond. So I'm not sure if, you know, you had avoided the comment. So I didn't say anything again. But anyway, it's not important. I was talking to Joey and just about his career. And, you know, I like Joey. I feel really connected to him for some weird reason. I think because I see a lot of myself in him. And Joey was saying, like, he has this this desire to grow and get bigger, and he was listing off all these things he wanted to do. And I think, without Joey realizing it, I think he's getting there, but without, I don't know if he is or isn't enjoying the moment, but I think he's getting there. But one thing I would say to him is I think he's become a little bit too comfortable in what he's doing. And in order to grow and get recognized, you almost need to get uncomfortable and start doing something different. And I'm not saying to start doing what everyone else is doing. That's the last thing I would say. Because when you're doing what everyone else is doing and you're chasing numbers, you're not doing it for the love. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. It's more for commercial success.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And when you're doing things like, the whole point here is to do this from love. We love perfume, and that's what brings us back here. The numbers are secondary to everything else. It's to share our passion for perfume, and we do it the only way we know how. And I love these small channels, and I feel so connected to them. Guys like yourself and Ramsey and Rudy and Bobby O and whoever else is here. I see Joe Anthony and Fragrance Journey and Euro Rose is doing his thing. I love that. And it's not necessarily, these guys don't come out and do stuff to grow and get famous and to get big. They do it out of love. And I appreciate that. And, somebody else who fucked the establishment and wanted to do things on his own and didn't want to follow trends was Terry Mugler.
Manfred.
In doing so, he started his own trend and people started copying him. He was so different when he came out. He didn't follow the path to success. He's obviously very different.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I think what you've got to remember is that to be Thierry Mugler sort of like an outlier, though, he is not. For every 1,000 people, or every 100,000 people, or every million people who tries to say fuck the establishment and I'm going to do things my own way, one person might succeed. And doing what Thierry Mugler did. And what you've got to remember is, but to do what Thierry Mugler did, you've got to operate at a certain level. Like Thierry Mugler didn't do that just because he was different. He had quality, and he had vision, and he had a lot of. I don't know if people would agree with that, but he obviously had luck as well, because he was the right man in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. Like cometh the hour, cometh the man, sort of thing.
Yeah.
He was obviously the right person in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. But again, it could have been just as easily that he didn't do that. That must fucking hurt, does it?
Well, I mean, if he didn't do that, none of us would be here talking about him. But he did, who had a vision, and
exactly,
and it was different than everybody else's, and he didn't care what kind of reaction he was going to get. It was something that he felt, and he followed that. He chased that.
Yeah.
Right. And we're lucky that he did, because look at all the beautiful creations he's given us. Angel Man is not an easy perfume. You say what you want about it. It's not an easy perfume. It's not an easy wear.
I fucking love it. It's right in my top 5.
Dude, it's hard. I wore it today and I was like, oh man, this is not an easy perfume at all. And it's so different than the things that they're creating today.
Yep, totally. But it started a whole new genre. Well, it didn't. I mean, the original Angel for women started a whole new genre, but that was like second, because it was like one of the first gourmands.
Yeah,
it was one of the it was one of the first gourmands. Completely started. And if there's a quote that I think Jura sent to me today, and it was about Thierry Mugler and his perfumes. If you give us 2 minutes, his theory on perfumes. If you give us 2 minutes, I'll see if I can dig it out. Jura's probably got it there. There it is. Right. I want something mouth-watering and tasty, which reminds me of childhood. The scent of a fairground, candy floss, little cakes, chocolates, and caramels. Perfume must not be linked just to fashion because that means one day it will go out of style. That's
Right.
a quote from Jerry Mugler about his thoughts on perfume.
Yeah. I mean, you compare it to anything else being released today, and this is a challenging perfume. It is so thick and rich and heavy. The one thing that surprises me nobody talks about is the amount of lavender in this perfume. It's just so
Yeah.
syrupy, goopy, thick. You know, I do find this challenging. I do find this not the easiest thing to wear. But I'm grateful for it. You know, it's not something I want to wear very often, but I'm grateful that it exists and that I own a bottle. And I like almost like a newfound appreciation for Mugler. But I think he, you know, there came a time where he ran out of ideas and he just started regurgitating the same thing over and over again. And you see, that's where he kind of lost his creativity. He just kept doing the pure line, the amen line, and just changing the top notes over.
I don't know that he was in charge of the perfumes at that time. So he sold the license to Clarence for his perfumes in the mid 2000s maybe, and I think they are the people who released all of the flankers. Maybe he released a couple of them. If somebody wants to have a look and find out when the license was sold, that's fine. But he sold it to Clarence, who then went on to sell it to L'Oreal, who have completely fucked the brand, which is a shame. Everything that says Thierry Mugler on the bottle or on the box is sound. Everything that says Mugler on the bottle or on the box is not sound.
Yeah.
That's why when I got my latest haul, I asked you to go to Maximum Fragrance and just like basically pick up all the Thierry Mugler versions of Amen that he had, which I appreciate. One of them,
the new Mugler versions are not as good as the originals.
When I say they're not as good as the originals, mate, they last about 2 hours, which is an absolute scandal for how powerful that perfume is. That perfume is made to be big and harsh.
It is.
It's made to be
over room.
Yeah, exactly. One of those ones that one of those bottles, you know, the test. One of them was a tester, and it was only a partial. It fucking leaked on the way there. It leaked in the fucking bottle on the way there, and honest to God, the package stank when it arrived. It was unbelievable. It was brilliant. Customs opened it and everything. They must have been wanting to know what the smell was. Absolutely awesome. Like literally, as soon as the bloke dropped it off, right, I could basically smell the box from upstairs.
I remember I wore this about 10 years ago, some point, and I came into work, and I work in this 20,000 square foot building, and I put on a couple of blasts, and like the moment I came in, somebody came running from the opposite end, the very back room, and they're like, Eugene, like they just came over to tell me like we can smell you like all the way in the back. Like it came from a place of impression. They were impressed by how powerful this was, and I had no idea. How would I know unless somebody lets me know? But I was like, damn, that is really loud. People are like, you know, some days we can smell you, some days we can't figure out like, but we can, most of the time we can figure out when you show up. But when I wear this, it is powerful. I don't know what the new versions are like, but this is bold. This is aggressive.
Yeah. What does your bottle say on it?
It says Thierry Mugler.
Yep. There you go. Even like seriously, any point. So there's the first versions, like the original 96 to 98, 99 versions have got Angel Men written on it. And after that, it says Amen. I've got an Angel Men, and it is slightly more tarry. And
this
says
Amen on it.
So Amen is the second version. And
right.
The second version ran all the way up to 2016 when L'Oreal bought it.
But it says
And then
Amen Thierry Mugler,
yeah, so that's the second version,
right?
and it's
So,
brilliant. It's fantastic. I've got loads of them. I've got like 5 bottles of that.
dude, this is a workhorse. That's a beast.
Yeah, it is. It's a total beast. It's absolutely fantastic. Rudy, I would buy them off you, like if you bought them. If you found a mother load of old Amen bottles, that honestly, they're the ones you want. Like they'll settle, they'll go for fucking fortunes. The flankers now, are all over 100 quid.
How many bottles of Amen do you have?
Fuck knows. I must have about because I've got a lot of different size ones. So I've got a couple of 30 mils. I've got about 4 50 mils, and I've got about 3 or 400 mils as well. The thing is, do you know what it is? Seriously, or like I know, like we say, we talk about this all the time. There is a distinct possibility I could go through all of them because I wear that shit a lot in the spring, in the autumn, in the winter. I fucking love it.
What is it that draws you to Angel Men? Amen. Angel.
Do you know what it is? Like for a perfume that's sweet and yet, like, because it's the contrast again. There's like I use that word a lot with perfume. There's a contrast. You've got the tar note, and then you've got the sweet notes. You've got the patchouli. You've got the mint. You've got the lavender. You've got the. I don't know if I said the tar, but it's got all of that going on, right? But for all of that, the sheer strength of it. There's a hint of violence about it. You know, there's a hint of like real butchness about it. There's a hint of danger about it because it's so strong. You know, and I really like that about it. There's like a real like not a force, but like there's an over sort of there's an overworking. You know, you said a workhorse.
Yeah.
It's got that sort of unrefined butchness, like this, like bluntness about it, like this aggression about it, and I really like that. Even though it's sweet.
I talk about texture and perfume very often, and if you ever want an idea of texture in a perfume, this is texture. You can feel resins, sap, raspiness, abrasiveness, smokiness. You know, it's goopy and syrupy and thick. This is like putting on a wool sweater, a wool coat maybe, and it's just like really it's got weight in the air.
Yeah,
it's very
like sheepskin. Like sheepskin, it's got like the wool on the inside, and it's got like a smooth but still sort of like textured outside, but it's very heavy and very dense. But still rough, like in its own way, it's sort of like refined and defined. It changes as well. You know, it changes from the beginning to the middle of the end. There's a very straight, like not a straight line, but there's a line. Like it's like a 3-part fucking. It's like a play in 3 acts. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end.
Yeah,
you know,
very sugary.
Yeah, there is sugar, there is sweetness in it. There's like a caramel sort of vibe when you mix it with that tar note at the top, like the rubbery tar sort of thing. And I'll tell you something else as well. I believe that a lot of the best perfumes do this. That they match the smell to the bottle, and the smell of the perfume matches the bottle perfectly.
The colors used in the marketing.
Yeah, the colors, the shape of the bottle, the material the bottle's made of.
Just kind of like the way Polo does, right?
Yeah. You're enjoying Polo, aren't you?
Oof, I love it. I just splashed some on. I get a lot of tobacco, leather, and dry woods. Absolute beast.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful perfumes. But what do you think it is about, going against the rules, and how do you get noticed that way? Like what separates Mugler from other people at that time?
Contrast, I would say. Again, contrast. He contrasts. He provides, and contrast can provide balance. And I think people like that when people see it's like politics. I'm not going into actual politics, but what I'm saying is that sometimes people will have, like, say, people will have like a left wing government, and then after a while, people will be like, "Fuck this! I'm going to vote for a right wing government," right? And it's but it's and then if people have had a right wing government for a while, they say, "Fuck this! I want a left wing." They want balance,
We want
you know.
change. Yeah.
We want change. We want balance. We want difference. We want something new. We want to try. We want to see what happens when shit happens. You know, like people will get bored of, like, you could have the best administration in the whole world, right? And if it's not, if people get bored of, like, if people get bored of stuff, they'll find something that they want to change. You
Do you
know?
think being too good can be a problem?
Yes. And it's a shame because I think people get itchy feet. You know, I think people get bored. I think people get sick of routine, even though routine is very good for people. Um, in general, that's why they say when you have a baby, one of the first things you should do is try and establish a routine for them, because human beings respond to routine, but also people have ambition and people have a desire, and that's part of who they are. And they wish to see something else. There are tales going back thousands of years about how you should think twice. Like, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You know,
Right.
there are
Where do you
stories and
think that
loads.
saying comes from?
I think it comes from just culture, from people learning from past experience. You
Mm.
know, um, people, if you look back now at the 80s and the 90s, right, how you would define those two decades are, they're completely separate from each other. But if you lived through that time, say if you lived between, if you were like 25 in 1985 and you were 35 in 1995, you wouldn't see that much difference, you know, because you'd lived through it. But if you look back now over those times, you would see there was a huge difference in everything the way it was. It didn't evolve. It sort of took, like, big jolting steps, you know? And Mugler felt like one of those, like, changes of direction. Mugler felt like one of those, like, huge leaps, you know?
He went
People,
totally against the grain at that time, didn't he?
yeah, he
From
was
fresh,
very,
citrusy, clean aquatics to big, goopy gourmands.
yeah,
Totally changed the face of what designer fragrances was doing. And and
yeah,
and everybody else noticed, and they jumped on board of that train, from women's designers to men's.
yeah. If people, it's the same thing. It's the same thing that happened with Aventus. If they see something being successful,
Right.
people
They
will want
want
a
a
part
piece
of
of
it,
it.
you know, and they'll follow in. I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something else as well. Do you know Cerruti?
Right.
Cerruti fragrances. Nino Cerruti died recently as well,
Okay.
like in the last few days. Um, so it's like these things happen in threes, don't they? Do you know what I mean? It's not.
Wow.
It's. I mean, Nino Cerruti wasn't as big as, say, Mugler. Certainly not in the popular consciousness. But yeah, people dying all over the place.
People are going home.
1881 was,
People are going home.
people are going home.
Yeah. Well, we're just here temporarily in body form, and then we go home.
Houdini.
So is that it? Do you think that's it for Mugler? Do you think we'll see any more great things, or it's going to be more of the same old? Like, now that
Uh,
Mugler is gone, the creativity is going to leave with him.
so it depends about the what we mean, what you're referring to. If you're referring to the fashion, he was still,
I'm talking more about the perfume. I'm not really interested in the fashion.
yeah, he, if you're talking about the perfume, I think they will continue to push stuff out under the name with the bottle, and try and capitalize on that. I
Just
can't see them.
capitalize off past success in the name. But
Yeah,
as far
but
as doing
that's
great
what they've
things,
been doing. Yeah, that's what they've been doing. To be honest with you, they're doing great things. I think it's that. No, I think they've had their moment. You know, I think they've had their moment.
yeah.
Especially when L'Oreal's in charge. L'Oreal ruin every fragrance they touch.
Did you
Um,
did you like any of the women's Muglers?
no, because they all featured huge amounts of jasmine. Which one was it? Was it Angel Women?
Alien,
Was it
Aura was a big
Aura?
jasmine.
Yeah, there were
Um,
big jasmine fragrances, and I wasn't
yeah.
impressed.
You know, I
Big,
don't own any of them, but I certainly do like them.
fucking frightening. Like, I'm not into that.
Thanks, Mike. Mike says your shirt gave away your indifference to fashion. Yeah.
Little shite.
Good thing we're not here to talk about fashion.
Oh, that's right.
Are there any other amens that or angels that you liked from the angel line?
What, from the ladies or the men's?
No, the men's.
I've got like 9 of them.
Holy smokes. I think that's 8
I've
too many, to be honest.
I've got the taste of fragrance is really good. The chili one that really suits it. The spicy top. Um, I've got the leather. I've got the coffee. I've got ultra zest. I've got pure wood, pure Havan, pure malt. Um, I must say though, out of all of them, I've got a couple of bottles of like some of them, but I must say, out of all of them, my favorite one's still the original.
Yeah, I
The
would
original
agree.
one's absolutely sensational fragrance. Like, um,
I
it's
just find them overbearingly sweet. Even this one is too sweet. But I've got pure Havan as well, and find it just so goopy. I don't enjoy wearing it.
I'm not big on Pure Van, I must admit. I've actually got a bottle sealed, the original release of Pure Havan with the cigar with the wrapper around the box. I've got that. I've got one of them. I thought that was cool. I actually quite like the presentation. I love the presentation of Amen. Um,
Juju.
you need juju. Um, the presentation of the Amen is mint, and I love how it's really difficult for some people to spray. It's like
It is a
if you've
weird
got
sprayer. Like even that was like nobody's ever done this before. Such a weird sprayer, right?
yeah, like people can't hack it and they like cut into it and stuff like
People
that, and
there
I
was
just
a
think that's
trend
it.
where people were cutting their sprayers off like this
Yeah,
plastic, right?
yeah. I think if you have to do that, you don't deserve the fragrance. I think it's like an equalizer. It's if you can't spray it, you have to like sell it on to someone who can,
Yeah.
and only
I don't
people
even
who
wanna
can, only
spray it,
people who,
like, to smell it, because once you spray this, you're stuck with it. It's not going away anytime soon.
oh,
So
absolutely not.
I don't dare to spray this. It's gotta be
It's
one of the most potent things that's ever been created. That and
oh, it
1,000,000 was
is.
also very strong, wasn't it?
1 million, yeah, but I gave that a wide berth. I actually had 1 million pre-V, and I gave it to a mate.
I had
Um,
1,000,000 as well and gave it away.
it's I couldn't be wearing that. Like, it's too. Oh, I don't know. It's like Amen, but with like a massive dose of Isoe Super.
I like the concept of, 1,000,000, but I don't like the execution. It's too bold and too aggressive and too sweet. I'd like to see a more restrained version of 1,000,000, almost like a
Yeah,
niche
a
or
niche.
like a designer exclusive version
Yeah,
where it's more restrained, more respectable. It's too bold of a perfume. But I can see, space that I can respect it in that sense. It is a historical perfume, and again, it was almost like bucking the trend. Paco Rabanne did something that hasn't been done before with 1 million. They they sep-
Um,
they separated from the establishment, from doing what everyone else was doing.
yeah, I have got an interesting thing to think about. Amen came out in the same year,
What was the year of release?
1996, I believe.
Okay.
It came out in the year 1996, which is the same year as Aqua di Gio.
Right.
Yes, it did come out in 1996. Isn't that interesting? Two of the most
Wow.
different fragrances you will not encounter,
You couldn't
and
go more opposite directions.
yeah, and yet they were both massive at the same time. I'll tell you what else came out in 1996 as well. I think Tommy Hilfiger did as well. Tommy from Man.
That was a big one, wasn't it?
I fucking love that as well. I think that might have been 1995 actually. Yeah, it was. Sorry, it was. It was 1995, but it's around the same sort of time. They could have came out within 12 months of each other. It's a hell
Yeah.
of a fucking hell of
Yeah.
like an
It's like a
18-month perfume.
right. Yeah, it's a treat.
Yeah.
We've got people watching from the perfume capital, Paris. Hello, Valerie Corbin. Welcome. Good to
All
see
right.
you. Let us know what you're wearing. Let us know what everybody wore today. Let us know if you're new. I see a lot of new faces. Let us know where you're watching from, what part of the world, and what brings you here. How'd you find us?
Yes, you've got 130 people watching.
Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. I am seeing
Hello.
some faces here. Greeting. We got
New
San
faces.
Diego. A lot of familiar faces, the usual suspects.
Yeah. It's I like seeing what people are wearing and stuff and where they're from as well. I wore Amen today. You wore Amen today. Did you
I
wear it?
did.
Did you wear
I
it because of Thierry Mugler?
Yeah, of course. I try to wear it once a year, but you know what? Like yesterday after I heard the news, yesterday we celebrated my dad's 80th birthday, and I thought when I heard he was only 73, I thought, "Damn, it's still very young considering, what kind of shape my dad was in and all that." And I came down in my room and I just grabbed this bottle and I sprayed it and came back a little while later and I went to sleep, and as I was sleeping the scent was still lingering in the room, and I started to get a migraine from one spray. I said, damn, that's some powerful shit. I had to go take a Tylenol just to kind of subdue that headache, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to wear it tomorrow. No, it's just too much for me. It's way too aggressive. But I got up this morning, I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to wear it, and I'm glad I did. I don't get to wear it very often, but I'm glad I did. At least in tribute for, Terry Mugler and all that he's gifted us over the years.
Yeah.
I'm not jumping on a Mugler bandwagon and saying he's the greatest gift and I love all his perfumes, because I don't. I simply don't. I enjoy a lot of his fragrances, but I think I dislike more than I do like. You know what? It's my show, Juju, and I can be a baby if I want to. How about that? I strongly dislike a lot of his Amen flankers, but that's
I've
just
bought
personal opinion.
I've bought fucking loads of them. Like, I even gave one away. I bought the Cryptomint, and I got the Mugler version, and it was shit. You know.
You're a hard
Um,
man to please, Rich Mitch. You're a hard man to please.
would you like to hear a tale, a slight change of subject, but a sad tale that happened to us today?
Yeah, go for it.
A perfume one. I have been watching a bottle of I've been watching a bottle of Girl on Derby a vintage one, an Eagle bottle, or as Gabe would say, the Legionnaire bottle, the Roman
Right. Yeah, there's
Legionnaire
a
bottle.
story behind that.
Yeah, and I was watching it, and I was the highest bidder for a week at £170. And today I got like a notification saying, "Oh, the bidding's ending today." And I just thought in the back of my mind, I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, "Someone's gonna come in later on with a bid there." So I put it up to £215. And then I thought, you know what it is? Some tosser is going to come in with a bid, and I really want this. Put it up to £250 and 69 pence, right? Because I do that. I think that might be Joey Cannoli's doing. He's like implanted it into my head, and I always put 69 pence at the end of every bid that I put into eBay. And you know what? 2 seconds before the end of the fucking bid, somebody come in and bid fucking £261 and 69 fucking pence. And I was like, you little bastard. And so I lost out on this. I lost out on this bottle of vintage Girl on Derby with the paper seal around it. I was devastated.
You'll be
I was
fine.
deep.
You'll survive
I
it.
was I was deeply wounded. Deeply wounded. But then I thought
You
to
know,
myself,
it just wasn't
I thought
meant to be.
it wasn't meant to be, all right. And then afterwards, I
That's it.
did get a little ray of sunlight when I realised that the shipping was going to be 25 quid, and
Right. You,
I would have had to have paid an extra 20% on top because it was coming from France. I would have had to
mm.
have paid the VAT as well. So really, I'm looking at it as if I've saved myself about 330 quid. You know
The
what I
universe
mean?
didn't want you to have it.
It's a fucking
It
universe. Kicks hard, the universe, mind.
does.
It
It
kicks
does.
hard when it lashes
And
out.
when
It
you're good
lashes
and ready
out.
for it, you'll have one.
I fucking hope so. I'll tell you something though. There is a bottle of there's a 200 ml splash of vintage Girl on Derby on eBay right now with the seal. The Eagle bottle, 200 ml. The bloke wants 800 quid for it, and it's been there for fucking months, and nobody's bought it.
What
And I'm like,
perfume was it?
it's
Derby?
Derby, vintage Derby with the seal around it, with the paper seal still attached. It's 200 ml. And I was like, oh, that's a big bottle, and I would really like to have that bottle, 200 ml, like a big version of
Right.
it.
Yeah. The
But
bigger
I'm
the
not
nicer the flacon looks, the bigger it is, right?
exactly. And
Yeah, I
I was just
agree.
thinking to myself, I'm not paying fucking 800 quid just out of spite. You know what I mean? I was just to fuck them. I'm not paying 800 quid. I would love that perfume. Say if I won the lottery, that'd be one of the first things I'd buy. But like, I'm not fucking paying 800 quid for fucking 200 ml of fucking anything.
Do you think
You
winning
know?
the lottery would make you happier?
No, but it would make everything easier.
Is that the first thing you'd buy is Derby?
It would be one of them. I'd buy that particular bottle because I know it's there. It's not one of the first things I'd buy. Probably one of the first things I'd buy would be this house.
Okay. Do you
I'd
think you'd ever
probably buy,
regret winning the lottery?
if you lost all the money, yeah. I think if you
That's usually what
lost,
happens to people, isn't it? They become
it
broke
happens to
after several
all.
years.
Yeah, because people don't know how to handle the money and they just piss it up the wall.
Right.
You know what I mean? Fucking, it can be a blessing and a curse. You know. I would try to get some people around us who. That's why a lot of lottery winners. If some people win the lottery, right? What they do is that the lottery is in this country anyway. The lottery has like systems in place for people to be able to
Yeah.
cope with it, and they also have like this club where the like a lot of the winners of the lottery will like meet up every year, and
Yeah.
like they'll all like meet up with each other in like a party and have a party and stuff, because that it's like a special, it's a very unique experience. There's not many other people who you could turn around to and say, hey, I won the lottery, and somebody else would then turn around to you and say, yeah, I won the lottery as well. It was mad, wasn't it? You know, it's not a shared experience that lots of people have. You know, it's not like there's like 100. There's like 125 people in here at the minute who all have the shared interest of their perfume, right?
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing for like a lottery thing, you're not going to bump into people, and it's like there's not going to be like a public forum where like lottery winners can just like can like gather together. Yeah, convene. That's the right word.
The lottery here in Canada is very different than in the US. Here you win and you get everything in a lump sum. If the lottery is $30 million, you get the whole amount and tax free. I think in the US, you have choices. You can take a lump sum, but it's heavily taxed, or you can take it prorated over 20 years. And if you take it over the 20 years, I think you get a little bit more than the original lump sum, but it's also very heavily taxed.
Yeah, it's tax free in this country as well. Yeah, you can have it so that it's like drip fed to you, or you can have it. Yeah, you can have it as if it's drip fed to you, or you can have it as a tax free lump sum. But the lottery wins in this country are tax free. Yeah.
Crazy, eh?
Somebody says they're wearing. It's Jonathan. He says he's wearing B-Men.
I've not tried B-Men.
I've got B-Men as well. Yeah, it's got like a licorice note in it. Smells a bit like Lolita Lempicka, au masculine. It's all right. It's all right. It's not my favorite. I barely wear it, but I'll tell you something. It has the metal flask, and that's amazing. I really like the metal flasks.
You know what I wore? Give me a second.
Oh, where's he gone? Don't cut yourself again.
I'm gonna try not to.
Please do.
I wore on Friday. On Friday, I wore Noir. And you know what really struck me? And I don't think I've ever noticed this before. Is the amount of black licorice in here.
Oh, yes.
I always got like anise, and there's a lot of comparisons between anise. Black licorice is basically anise, but it was so dark on Friday. It's like basically all I got was black licorice aspects. Like that took away from the lavender, that took away from the, the spices. It's very spicy, this fragrance. The sticky Immortelle, all I could get. And I'm wondering if it was the cold weather, because it was extremely cold here in Toronto. Was just black licorice.
I get a big lavender note.
Yeah, usually. And I came home and I said, "Hey, Mom, smell this. I want you to smell this." And she smelled it and she's like, "I don't like it." And I was like, "Okay, what don't you like it? What don't you like?" She went into the liquor cabinet and she pulled out a bottle of Jägermeister and said, "It reminds me of this." And I was like, "Oh, damn, wow." So I smelled the Jaeger and I was like, "That's a pretty good comparison." Yeah. Have you ever smelled Jaeger?
Yeah, I know what Jaeger is. Fucking make people whack in the walls, that thing. That stuff. Fucking mental.
Sambuca's a big licorice too. Yeah, gross. I don't like Sambuca.
Yeah.
Sambuca Ramazzotti.
Oh, fucking crackers.
It's interesting when you get like a new opinion, somebody else smells something for the first time. Like a non-frag head.
I really like Noir. It's got that fucking madness to it. It's got like what Dior should be. It is literally what the perfume should be like. It's got spice, it's got licorice, it's got strawberry, it's got coffee, it's got fucking the massive lavender note in it. Lavender is probably the big note I get from it.
Yeah, a lot of lavender.
It's a proper Coeur de Jean special.
It's not a typical Coeur de Jean though.
It's and that's why I said special. Yeah, it's Coeur de Jean, but special.
There's
It's
nothing, no other Kirkjohn that reminds me of this. Like, this is a one of a kind.
it's uh it's it's a very strange perfume. It's like a gourmand, but an unedible gourmand. You know, it's like loads of foods that are like have
Yeah,
no
not
right being anywhere near each other.
this is not something I'd want to eat.
Oh.
It's very syrupy and goopy as well.
Yeah, it's very thick and
But different from Angel Men. Angel Men is also syrupy and goopy, but they're very different. But they both got lavender, eh?
yeah,
Both very
yeah.
heavy in lavender.
There's no spice at all in there's no spice at all in Amen. It's completely spiceless. It's like
I don't know about that. You know, I remember getting a curry note in Au Noir, and I remember it smelling like armpits, but I don't get that anymore. And I'm not sure if it's my nose has changed or the fragrance has changed.
I think it's
And
probably
I miss that curry accord.
I still get a little bit of curry from it. I still get that like not cumin, but like warm spice.
No,
Like
no cumin.
there's a warmth to it. It's more like a bay leaf, isn't it? It's like without the greenness. You know, like a coriander. I don't know
Right.
what the original notes were. I had the opportunity to own the eau de cologne, but I opted against it because the person wanted fucking 250 quid for a fucking partial. And I thought I was just like, not a chance. But I kind of regret that. It was somebody else bought it.
So, you know, Rudy's saying he doesn't get BO. Somebody else was saying they get cumin. So it's like a difference of opinion here. Yeah, Nishko gets a curry note, which I imagine is kind of like a BO thing. You don't get any BO, eh?
I don't get BO, but I get a warm spice.
Yeah.
I get a warm spiciness. I don't get like body odor though. But I know how easily those two things cross over. It's
Yeah, many people aren't getting I got the curry thing. It could have even been a sample of the original release. I don't get it anymore. It was even more fruity with a strawberry and I still get the kind of maple syrup, that thick, raspy, goopy maple syrup. I get that. I feel like the coffee is gone though.
no, I still get the car. How old's your bottle?
That's a good question. I've
Right,
never dated it.
what's the batch code? Do you know? I'll be able to tell you by the batch code.
So the batch code is on the back of the label, right?
No, it's on the bottom of the bottle. No, it's on the very bottom of the bottle. At the base.
Man, my eyes are aged, bro.
Getting old.
Okay, I'm seeing something. So it is 1S
It's 2011.
001.
Yeah, your bottle's 2011.
Or is it
The one.
1.5? It's 1.5 or 1S?
Yeah, it's 1S. It's 2011,
1S01.
I think. Yeah,
That should
I
be
think it's
pretty close to
2011.
original release.
No, the original release was 2003 or 2004, and the original release was an eau de cologne, not an eau de parfum.
Ah, yeah, that's right. You're right. With the removable atomizer.
That's right. That is right. It was 2 seconds. Just go in the bathroom.
I get the cumin in Absolute Pour Le Soir. Absolutely pissy cumin. And that gets a little bit BO animalic. Probably two of Kurigyan's best. And I think those days are past him. We're done. I'm going to drop the link if somebody wants to come on and talk about Mugler or Au Noir. Let us know how their weekend was. As Rudy, have you tried the new Celine Rimbaud, the lavender? I tried it, and off first impressions, like, oh man, it smells like Chanel jersey to me. And I was going there, like looking to purchase a bottle. And when I smelled it, I was like, I don't know if I need this. I don't know if I need something so similar. And I don't know if I'd be able to, on a blind blotter test, if I'd be able to separate Jersey and Rimbaud, which was kind of unfortunate. Houdini says, I have a tiny amount of the eau de cologne and a bottle of the EDP, and there's no perceivable difference to me. So you don't find the eau de cologne more spicy, more dirty, more richer, more contrast? Alan Hansen says, I'm praying that Cartier Oud for 22. Well, is that a new Oud? I'm not aware of this. A new Cartier Oud.
A nude? A new Oud? A nude?
He's a noosh. I'm praying that Cartier Oud for 22. I don't know if that's the name of it. Will be Oud and Cumin.
No, say if that you know how they are releasing they release like the oud fragrances. You know how they release like the oud and fragrances. So there's oud and santal, oud and musk,
right?
And that.
Yeah.
What he's saying is, it's like he's hoping that they release a new oud and fragrance, and that it's oud and cumin.
Right. Yeah. It's not very often you see cumin in the name of a fragrance, though. I don't think I can recall a single one.
That's
usually they're heavier base notes. It's like patchouli or rose or amber or leather.
I agree. You're right. It'd be very strange to see an oud and cumin note.
How about an oud and lavender? They haven't done lavender yet, have they? That might be an interesting combination. They did oud and mint, which was kind of weird.
I can imagine oud and mint being kind of weird.
Weird, but it works. But I'd like to see oud and lavender. Actually, I'd like to see the oud trend stop. I'd like to see something new from Cartier. Cumin will turn people off. I don't know. Like, this is a market. It's like that line is a market. It's a segment marketed to a specific niche of people that are looking for more interesting and complex perfumes. I don't know if it'll turn people off. Like, look at all the people here. We like this kind of weird stuff. And I imagine we're the market for that line. Good, and then Broxton can.
And Broxton,
hopefully not.
Plenty of them around, though. Do you know what I mean? There doesn't need to be another one.
Yeah.
She's got a rich seam to mine there. I can see there being quite a few more of those oud fragrances from Cartier.
You think they're going to keep going with that?
Probably, because I imagine they'll do quite well amongst a certain group of people, and they won't be producing loads of them. You don't hear many people talking about them on YouTube at all. I don't know about other brands.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think they're the more interesting versions of oud in the Western world and amongst designer exclusives. But I'm getting a little bit tired of them keep creating the same thing over and over again. The oud smells very similar throughout the whole line. It's not like you're getting a different type of oud. It's like they're using the same base and just adding or swapping out the top, and And for that kind of money, it gets quite pricey to be buying the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see something a little bit different, buck that trend and start a new one, right?
Yeah.
Give us enthusiasts something new to taste.
Well, I am currently in talks with Dmitry from Bortnikov, or Dmitry Bortnikov, which is his name,
About?
To try and get a bottle or a 9 ml bottle of Oud Maximus. And this is based on Ramsey's recommendation. I am looking for a real oud fragrance at some point this year. I would like to try something. I just want one. It's. I'm not going to be one of these people who buys oud, like oud and like oud on top of oud on top of oud on top of oud. Like I just want one really good quality one.
Right.
And I'm looking to try that Oud Maximus. So I'm interested. I've got his number. I've been texting him. I am interested to try this Oud Maximus based on Ramsey's recommendation, because we agree on most things, me and Ramsey. And he says that's like, if you had to have one oud fragrance, that would probably be it. Or if I wanted like an oud fragrance, that would be it. That would be a really good one to have. So I want a natural one as well. I'm not buying some fucking fake oud fucking, because they all smell. All it is like used to Smiths. It's dark smoked wood. That's all it is. It's just a single aroma chemical with dark smoked woods. It smells nothing like oud.
Let me bring somebody in from backstage, and maybe they have an opinion and can share, because I know they've usually got a whole lot to say about perfume.
Hello,
James. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Very good. I see you got a new mic there. I see you're sporting the New York Islanders tee. What's up with that? Are they a thing in the UK or?
No, not a clue. I got it. I got it when I went to New York. I know nothing about hockey. Know nothing about the team. I've never watched hockey. I know they have fights, but that's it. I like them because they're big and kind of baggy and stuff. So
yeah,
that's why I'm kind of rocking this. So that's about it. And obviously, I just wanted to come and say I'm a pro now, and I've got a mic. Do I sound better than normal?
You sound great. You sound better than both Rich and I imagine. I don't know what it's like for everybody else, but maybe they'll let us know. I've got a mic here. I don't know if I'm even using it properly, but it's just here.
You always sound good. And what I hate as well, I hate talking over people, and I know I do it quite a lot when I come on here, but it's kind of that thing of like delay, and like if I don't get something out, I'll forget what I'm saying because I'm a fucking idiot, So I am only coming on quickly because I actually watched you on Joey Cannoli's stream. I don't watch Joey. I know of him obviously because he's been around for a long time, and I think for certainly for the fragrance community, he's a funny guy, and he's very he comes across as he's pretty cool. I like him. But I wouldn't sit through one of his streams because there's a kind of barrier that you've got to get through. You've got to be one of his kind of regulars to sort of get all the kind of stuff. And I can't, I have it on in the background a lot of the time, listening to it. So, but I went on and I pretty much watched the whole thing with you on. And it was an interesting conversation. Did you feel that you were put on the spot a bit, or were you all right?
There wasn't a single moment where I felt out of place. I think Joey does a great job of controlling his stream. Most times, I felt very comfortable there. I felt very welcomed by Joey. Even the couple of times where, the other guy tried to come in on me at, at different angles.
Well, that's who I meant. I wasn't talking about
Yeah.
Joey, obviously, because I mean, there's nothing but respect. I really like that Aaron guy as well. He comes across. I've been on here with him before because I don't really know I don't really follow a lot of people. I only really watch this stream and occasionally like hate watch a few other people's, but no, no, I do watch what's his name's Mr. Smelly's occasionally just to go like, fuck is all this about? But no, yeah, I think, I don't know, it strikes me that like a lot of people kind of I don't know, they kind of almost like they're sort of telling you like what you should be like thinking or feeling, which would piss me off, and kind of like speculating about that video that you put out ages ago. They're still going on about that shit from like 2019 or whenever it was, and I just think, fucking hell, just trying to dredge the drama canal and bring up something fucking interesting to talk about. Anyway, but I thought you were great on there, and it was a good insight, and it was good to see you in a different environment.
Yeah.
And, I thought it was cool, man.
Talking to different people brings out differences in you, so it's good. I like that. For some reason, that video has been coming up a lot for me lately. People are talking about it or questioning, and I'm not sure what exactly is going on, but I definitely feel that energy coming up, and I don't shy away from it. I don't try and shut it down. The video,
I know you don't, and I noticed you said you were proud. You still, you still like stand by that video, even though you're completely in a different place. And I think if anybody has watched subsequent videos, they saw the whole, I don't want to say journey because that's like a kind of thing, but they've seen how, like, because I mean, very sort of bravely of you, really, that you kind of laid everything out there for everybody to see. Because I did literally the first video. I think I'd seen a couple of your videos with Christo before, but I think the first one that I became aware of you was that one. And I noticed a few other people saying that I think somebody just like tagged me in it. It truly was like a viral kind of thing. And especially, there's one person that you that you picked out in that video who wasn't a YouTuber, actually, who I still fucking hate, that guy. I don't even know where he's gone, but I think that was you at the time, and I completely understand that, and I don't think you have to rake over it. You don't have to keep talking about it. I completely understand where that was coming from at the time, and this stream wouldn't be the same as what it is now if you hadn't been through like stuff that you've been through in your life and everything. And yeah, I think to keep kind of trying to sort of revisit that like a certain person has been doing, just fucking let it go,
Yeah, no, I hold nothing towards it. I know, I heard one of my favorite people in all of Fragcom last week say, Eugene's changed and he's watered down. Greggy Boy was over on Mr. Smelly's stream, and I got no contempt against Greggy Boy. I love Greggy Boy, and maybe I have changed and a lot of people don't like it, but I'm okay with it. You know why? Because I'm more honest now than I ever was before, and a lot of people thought that was me being honest.
Sure.
And truly it wasn't. That was a very fearful and scared Eugene. And you're never going to find a more honest Eugene than the one that you get today. And that's what I can tell you authentically and truly.
Cool. Anyway, so enough of that.
All right.
No, I just thought it was great. Like I say, it was different for me as well. And like I say, I do like Joey. I think he's a funny guy. And he's got a lot of people that really like him and support him and stuff. So good for them. Yeah. How are you doing anyway, Rich?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. Yeah, not bad. Surviving.
That's about right. It's fucking how long do you think fucking Johnson's got left?
Oh, he's hanging on by the skin of his teeth, and I think they've they certainly within his own party, they're sort of they're smelling the blood in the water, aren't they? And I think
have you heard about the birthday? Have you heard about his birthday party?
Yeah, I was watching the news, just watching about the latest kind of, faux pas or whatever you want to call them. And Jenny was on her phone. She said, "There's been another party." I'm like, never not having fucking parties at. Do you know what day didn't they have a? What day didn't they have a fucking party? You know. So I just think
Sue Gray, apparently Sue Gray's been in touch. Apparently, like they've got the diplomatic protection.
Yeah.
Apparently, the diplomatic protection have grassed them up something shocking. apparently, the diplomatic protection police officers have grassed him up something shocking. Apparently, one of the senior Tory MPs has turned around and said they'd be surprised if he was there by the end of the week. fucking mental. I cannot wait. I hate the fuck out of him.
Yeah. They need to get him out. I mean, it's just a damning. It's such a state, isn't it? To have, it's an embarrassment. It's a worldwide sort of embarrassment. So, the least I kind of think about that. I mean, not surprised at all, because we know it's one rule for them and one rule for everybody else. And anybody who didn't think that is clearly naive. And anyone who thinks that Labour or any other politicians would be any better, certainly the Tories are a lot more fucking, bold-faced about it. Well, and that as well. But they're a lot more kind of, we know them fuckers don't give shit. So anyway, but
I have no idea what the fuck you guys are going on about.
Anyway,
Rich was going on about Oud Maximus and Bortnikov. James, do you have any input or any insight that you can share with us?
I just kind of say the same things about those kind of RICH Lador and Bortnikov. To be honest, the few that I've tried, I preferred the Bortnikovs because I thought they were just slightly less kind of soupy messes, really, which I think the RICH Lador are. It's not a very popular opinion, but I don't think they're particularly well blended. But I like some of the Bortnikovs. I like the fact that they use the floral absolutes in there and they actually let them kind of breathe, and the oud isn't too like strong and stuff like that. Maybe just out of the ones that I've tried, I really like the amber cologne. Actually, it's a kind of orange blossomy sort of thing. Is Oud Maximus that kind of very chocolatey oud? Is that one?
I've got absolutely no idea. I've got no idea.
Either Maximus or Monarch. I think I get those two confused. Oh, here you go. It's animalic at the top and turns very rose heavy in the dry down. In that case, I can't speak for certain, but I do quite like the Bortnikovs. The few that I've tried.
Excellent.
There you go. Outspoken James. I know James is taking credit for discovering Les Indemnidables. I saw your post there on Instagram, and I loved it. I love opinions. Have you been able to find anything new for us? Can you shed light on any new fragrances?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm wearing today. I can go into a few new ones that I've tried this week, and also kind of plug my own, peddle my own wares a little bit. So we'll get back onto that.
Let's hear this.
So basically today I've been wearing a perfume called The Musk by Essential Parfums. I think I've told you about these before, Eugene. They are a very good brand in that they're sustainable. It's all like recycled glass and the packaging's all great and everything. They tell you exactly how much natural materials they use in, where they've come from, etc. And the best part about them, I think they're only about £65 for 100 ml, and they're very lovely. They're presented really nicely. They're all made by top perfumers. I'm just trying to think who are some of the top perfumers, but they've got some great. I mean, people that have made stuff for like Frederick Malle and things like
IFF.
that. Let me think. So like Khalees Baker,
yeah,
her.
She's
I don't think he's done one yet, but he might be on the cards. Some of the other ones like Bruno Jovanovic, who else? So it's a really good set of perfumers, great fragrances. I mean, they're not going to spellbind anyone. They're not like life-changing sort of perfumes, except for the musk, which is beautiful, and it's worth a punt for you perhaps to just go, yeah, I trust Houdini. I'll buy a 65 quid. I mean, what's that like?
Yeah,
I don't know, Canadian dollars. Is that like $90 or something? I don't know. But it will really, it's worth it, mate. I like, if I'm going to recommend anything, it's a beautiful, slightly rose tinted musk perfume. I love the kind of musk. It's got everything from the very clean like a white musk type laundry sort of thing, going into a warmer ambrette kind of musk with a little bit of like honey or beeswax, I think is in the notes, but it gives this like warmth to it, and then slightly animalic as well. It's a little bit like the Serge Luton's musk as well. So it's just a lovely perfume, and it's got everything going for it. I think it's a great brand. I think at least one at least there'll be one for everyone. Do you know what I mean? Somebody will get something from at least one of them. And if you get a nice, I mean, it's a bargain already. I don't think like, it's the whole philosophy, the whole like ethos behind the brand is that they're giving people, this niche kind of perfume that people want for an affordable price, and not doing it in a kind of cheap way. They're still a prestigious brand. But they've just got a cap on their prices. So speaking of caps on the prices, the reason that I've got all this gubbins with the microphone and everything is obviously we've started the podcast with Ben and Dan from he's called Fragrance Weirdo on Instagram. So we started doing our podcast on Sunday. It's not been like edited together and stuff, and we're going to release it, I think, towards the end of the month.
Is it a live podcast, or it's going to be pre-recorded?
It's pre-recorded, so we recorded it on Sunday, so yesterday, and we basically like picked the topics. It's quite structured, which is good because I would just ramble for fucking hours. So it's good that they're quite organized and they've gone, right, okay, what's happening in the world. So we've done like news kind of things, and we talk about stuff. Obviously you have Ben on here, he can, he's got the gift of the gab, hasn't he? He can chat. So it's me, him, and another guy basically who's like the host. It's I haven't heard the edited together kind of thing, but it sounds pretty cool. I hope there's an audience for it.
So where are we going to be able to find this podcast?
I think it's going to be on all your regular podcast things like your iTunes and Spotify and all that kind of stuff. I don't really know.
Can you ask Ben? Can you ask Ben to upload it to YouTube like he does with his Dark History podcast? Because I do not have access to such technological advances as Spotify.
Right. Okay. I think we have discussed. We might do. I was thinking about this because obviously that's quite a good way of like bringing people in. We might not put the full podcast on there because it's YouTube is a very different format. This is a slightly different format to how a podcast might be. It not vastly, but this is even more freeform kind of discussion. Whereas during the podcast, I'll go, oh, what's that fucking guy's name or whatever, and we'll go, right, stop for a minute, stop recording, go look it up, and then it kind of all flows smoothly, so you're not going don't know who this person is or whatever. So just little details like that you can look up just to make it a bit more polished, you know what I mean? So, and it's kind of cheating really, isn't it? But yeah, so we're doing that. It's kind of gone okay, I think.
What's the podcast going to be called?
It's called Les Odorants.
Okay. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of bashing on there. Knowing you and Ben, I'm not familiar with the other guy, but I'm sure if you guys have connected with him, he's probably quite similar to both of you.
Yeah, he's pretty acerbic. I think he's a bit more into the kind of world of perfumery. He's got the followership on Instagram, shall we say, and like brands send him stuff. So effectively, brands are going to send him stuff, and he's going to decant it, send it to us, and we're going to like trash it. And but he's quite good for doing that. He's like, if he doesn't like something, he's quite he's quite sort of candid about it and just says, I don't like it or whatever. So yeah, that's what we're doing. But the topic was actually value in fragrance. So we were talking about perceived value and very expensive perfume. So the guy Dan, Fragrance Weirdo, has got loads of like £400 plus a bottle, and I'm not talking like old vintage stuff like Rich Mitch has got. I'm talking like things that you go and buy in some ridiculous crystal flacon for like £500 that I would never spend that money on. I don't care. I don't care what the perfume does for me. I have a set limit, and I'm not going to spend more than that. Having said that, now I do say that, but let's say I was on holiday. So for example, actually when I went to New York, went to a wedding, you're all kind of like loved up, you might have had a few drinks or whatever, and you're walking around. And I went into a Bond No. 9 boutique, and I don't really like that brand. I don't really like the kind of woman who owns it. I don't want to get sued or get you in trouble, so I'm not going to say.
Did you hear Killian go in on her?
No.
Killian trashed her completely in one of the Facebook groups.
Oh wow.
Who?
Killian Hennessy went in on the owner of Bond No. 9.
She's not a very nice lady.
She's a horrible woman. Like, she closed down Sebastian's first channel.
That's right.
Because he was like Bond No. 9 a shit.
And like, apparently he's really upset with her, calling her basically, without saying the words, a clone brand. All she wants to do is copy successful perfumes.
That is effectively
and when she gives a brief, she doesn't say what she wants the perfume to smell like. She just says, make it smell like such and such fragrance.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've heard worse things.
Killian is usually really mild mannered. He's respectable, and he's the face of a brand, so he has to watch what he says, right? It's not a good look, but I don't think this was a bad look for him.
I think
what were you going to say? Sorry, James. What were you going to say that you've heard that's worse about her?
Well, I think this is common knowledge, and again, disclaimer, I don't know whether this is true or not, but she has there's some slight kind of like accusations of racism with people in her stores, targeting black people of color who come in and telling her staff to watch them and stuff like that, again. Allegedly, but I think it's pretty much I think she's responded to it and said they were disgruntled members of staff or whatever. But I think I've heard some. There's been a few too many people saying it. For it to. There's probably some truth to it. But again, I don't know. So anyway, knowing this about her, I still bought perfume from there, which is outrageous because I don't. Like I say, I don't really like the brand or whatever. But we'd walked the High Line. So do you know what the High Line is? It's basically like a disused railway line in New York. So it runs right into like the meat packing district or whatever. And you can walk on it, and they've kind of put all like wildflowers, and it's like a walkway. It's beautiful. I mean, you see all the buildings from like a unique perspective because you're above all the roads and everything. And it's really cool. So we walked that, and they have a perfume boutique right at the end of it. So we came down off it, and I was like, oh, look, Bond No. 9. Yeah, we'll go in there. And they've got a perfume called High Line, which I bought for Jenny because she loved it. It's a very green, lush, kind of grassy sort of perfume. And we've been walking with all this kind of like wild grass and stuff. And of course, I had to buy a perfume because we were in there naturally. And I remember it's the signature oud. It's an awful perfume. I don't know what I was thinking. I do not know. Other than that, I was just in the moment. Like I say, as much as I talk about, oh yeah, training your nose and being all kind of thing, I'm the worst person for being susceptible to buying shit from just buying it in the shop, because I'll go, oh yeah, I really like that, and then I'll get home and go, what was I, what was I
it's
thinking?
just like in the moment purchase without putting any thought or effort into it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
well, and the thing is, I didn't even ask for the price either, because you're on holiday, you've got your bum bag with your money in. No, but you've got money on you, and basically you've got money to burn essentially. And I just said, oh yeah, how much is this? And she was like, oh, it's like $400. I was like, $400? Like what? But I still bought it anyway, which is fucking stupid, man. But so that's one of my big sort of regrets in my collection.
Somebody picked up Lelion this weekend. Good job, buddy.
Cool.
I wore that yesterday, actually.
Shite.
Have you tried Lelion?
Who, me? Yeah, man. I've said before, it's not for me in terms of I wouldn't buy it, but I love it. I think it's a fantastic perfume, but yeah, I get why Rich doesn't like it. I think it's got this kind of animalic sort of labdanum, heaviness that I sometimes don't like in a perfume, and I can smell it in there, but I think that's what makes it good. by the same rule, I think it's one of the best things that's come out in a long time, and I completely understand why people love it, and rightly so, because it's not just another derivative Shalimar type amber. It's almost a new. It's almost the evolution of that kind of genre, and I see. I mean, trust Chanel. You trust them to bring something out that's really good and will stand the test of time. So I do like it.
It's not very often that Chanel's going to disappoint us. But listen, before I'm a horrible host, let me introduce Woozy, who's been sitting here for a few moments. Hello, Woozy. What's up?
Hey guys, how you guys going? I'm pretty good.
How are you?
Hey, Woozy.
Yeah, I'm alright. Just on a break from work, trying to survive this current heat wave I'm in at the moment.
It's funny to hear that, considering how cold it is. It was almost like -7 or 8 today in Toronto. What are you wearing today, Uzi?
So today I'm working from home, so I've chosen to wear something a little bit more subtle. I'm wearing Chanel's Pour Monsieur today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So just usually when I'm at home, I try to wear things that it gives me the chance to wear things that are a bit more subtle. Whereas when I'm out at work, I prefer to wear things that other people can smell for the full 8 hours that I'm out at work for.
Yeah. So we've had you on before, and I remember that you were a fan of Frederic Malle. I think you also you were into the Chanel Les Exclusives. Remind me.
Les Exclusives, I do enjoy most of them. The other brand that I was really into was the Les Indomptables brand. That was the one that I was into as well. Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We can thank Houdini for that.
Yeah.
It really was Houdini, who in that way was able to connect me to Antoine Lee. So I'll always remember you for that.
I love that you give me credit for that. That's so good,
you like that, eh? And every time you come on stream, I'm going to remind you of how much that means to me. Thank you.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad that can be the case. And they're brilliant, great brand. So, what are some of your favorites then, Woozy?
From that brand specifically?
Yeah.
At the moment, probably Mousse de Sable and the Oriental Velours. Those are my two favorites from the brand.
Mousse de Sable is so dirty, but so clean, like a nice contrast.
Because the ambergris in that is quite it's very like dusty and musky. I find the ambergris that's in Mousse de Sable, and then Oriental Velour to me is it's a really good alternative to Serge Lutens La Mer, because that's not accessible where I am.
So I've not ever smelled that.
Oh, yeah,
I've heard good things about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people say it's like a more masculine variant of Chanel's No. 5, in a strange way.
Mousse de Sable?
No, La Mer by Serge Lutens.
Okay.
I think myrrh, to have a really overt myrrh perfume is quite a rare thing, really. The myrrh in the Les Indomptables is so prominent. I think the actual dose is on there, isn't it? It says like how much myrrh is in there, and it's insane.
Have you smelled Opium's Secret de Parfum?
No.
Because that is the only perfume I've ever had a genuine real world compliment on, even though it was two 80-year-old women. And it was they followed us round an auction house. I swear to God, they followed us round an auction house, right? And then they were like talking, like that smells absolutely unbelievable. And I was like, oh, is it me? And they came over and they were like, yes, it is you. That smells unbelievable. What is it? And I told them, and they were like, wow. They were like, I used to wear that like when I was younger. I was,
you know what? When they smelled it on you, it recalled some past experience for them, Rich. And that's the beauty of fragrance.
I think it must too. Yeah, but the thing is, with the Secret de Parfum, it has got a gargantuan myrrh note in it. It's absolutely massive and it's beautiful. I'll send you some, James, if you want.
Yeah, man, that'd be cool.
I'll send you some if you can find it anywhere. I would buy it up because it's absolutely stunning. It's like opium, but with like a massive myrrh note. It's just the EDP. It's called the Secret de Parfum. It's called the Secret de Parfum, but it's really just opium parfum, basically. It's just it's not like a flanker. It's just the parfum version, but it's got a huge myrrh note in it. Ramsey knows. Sorry, what were you talking about? Oriental Velour. Oriental Velour is beautiful. That's going to be one of my next purchases.
Yeah. Is the Secret de Parfum, was that a flanker that was only out for a short period of time?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was in the mid-90s. Was a Sanofi, I want to say. News will be able to tell us. It was, but it was beautiful, and it is worth finding if you can find it. It's a really, really nice perfume. In fact, I might wear it tomorrow, actually.
Mm-hmm. I think the original Eau Sauvage Parfum was also quite myrrh heavy as well.
Yes, that's right.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's right.
Myrrh and vetiver. I remember. Yeah.
Can you still get that? How much do bottles of that go for, Rich? Do you ever see that?
I got a bottle of the original one, right? And it was a partial. It was about 90 ml, and I paid about 80 quid for it. And I was I was buzzing because that is a fucking great price. Don't be scared of partials. That's something I try to say on my channel. Don't be scared of partials, especially if you've got a big collection, because you'll fucking rarely finish a bottle of anything, you know. But I've got an absolutely shocking revelation. I actually prefer the reformulation.
I don't believe it for a second.
Wow.
It's honest to God, it's true. I prefer the reformulation.
I don't believe you for a second. You must have something on it. You must have dozens of bottles you're trying to unload.
No, it's not. It's true. It's true. I'm afraid it's true. I do actually prefer the 2017 to the 2012.
I also agree, because to me the 2017 is more of a flanker, whereas the 2012 version to me is more of a separate fragrance. I prefer the 2017 version because to me that's more like an Eau Sauvage flanker, I feel. Yeah. Because the LME gives freshness, whereas in the original Eau Sauvage Parfum it's not very dense and a little bit flat, to be fair. But that's when I first smelled the original Eau Sauvage Parfum, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Later on, I did come to at least appreciate it, but I do think that the 2017 version is better as an Eau Sauvage flanker, if that makes sense.
It was love at first sniff for me, and I don't see any kind of comparison to Eau Sauvage. Maybe very slightly, but they're two very different perfumes. The Parfum is more; it steers towards Oriental genre,
yes,
and Eau Sauvage is a very fresh, citrusy chypre almost.
Mm-hmm. Is this the 2012 version or the 2017 version?
I've got the older bottle.
Yeah.
How can you tell?
The label is silver, I think, on the newer bottles.
Has anyone tried that leather Eau Sauvage?
No, but I found a bottle lurking somewhere. That I do know of a bottle that is out there somewhere. And that's meant to be mental. The queer one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I nearly bought it like a few years ago, but I don't know why I didn't. But you know, I could say that for the one you're talking about here, because obviously when it was in shops, I did like it, but there's only so many perfumes you can buy, isn't there? So a lot of stuff like that, I just begrudge buying it now because I could have bought it in the shop for normal price, which is no reason not to get it. But like I say, you can't have everything, can you?
No, that's
So
right.
how can you tell if it's the original release?
Of which
the
one?
original-
Like
If you
I'm
look at the
holding
batch,
Neo Sauvage here. What's
the batch code? What's the batch code?
2Z01.
Yeah, that's a 2012.
So original.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the easiest
so.
way is that isn't the label that says Neo Sauvage Parfum, that's silver on the newer bottles, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, I just know by the. I find it easy to go by the batch code because I can never remember whether it's all black or the silver one. But Woozy's right. That is probably the easiest way to ascertain.
To be fair, LVMH batch codes are pretty easy because the is the very first number.
So I put up a post the other day, like a little kind of poll thing, saying, "Do you think I just have a sneaking suspicion that Kirkchand's first perfume for Dior is going to be like an animalic orange blossom, sort of akin to like a Fleur de Mal or something like that." Now, maybe that's wishful thinking.
You wish.
But let's say, hypothetically, that does happen. Even if it was just Fleur de Mal, would that satisfy you? Would you be happy?
Fucking
with
hell
that?
yeah! Who wouldn't be satisfied with that?
Yeah,
I'd be content, but I'd also like something to follow it up. Like, don't just stop there, right? Keep it going.
Yeah.
Don't give us one good fragrance and then continue to create shit, because that's all he's created the last couple of years. Is nothing worth mentioning.
Well, I get the impression if he's known about this being in the pipeline, which I suspect he probably has, that he was going to go to Dior, maybe he's sort of wound things down creatively slightly with his own brand and thought, I really need some good shit in the locker to be able to pull out, because all perfumers must have that. Do you know what I mean? They must have things that they've got that they think, I'll pull that out for a rainy day. Do you know what I mean? And if that is the case, we might be in for something really special. And I know we've got this big sort of downer on Dior, and everyone's kind of apprehensive about what he's going to do. But I really hope that he does have something good, and I'm trying to remain sort of open to that, and really optimistic. But that's setting me up for big disappointment, isn't it? If it's going to be shit. So maybe you should just you're right to sort of manage your expectations.
I think the most likely thing he's going to make is a cheaper, more feminine version of Baccarat Rouge. If anything.
Oh hell no.
That is my opinion.
That's
cheaper in what sense? You mean like throwaway, sort of trashy, cheap, or?
So I think because behind the garbage glassy A4 Mortal that's on the that's in the original Baccarat Rouge 540, there's also a bit of like jasmine and some other stuff and some other sort of fairly full florals. So I think what you're going to see is he might release something that's basically like the E4 Moto equivalent of Dior Sauvage, where Dior Sauvage had like this huge, massive sledgehammer of ambroxan and some weird synthetic spice note. You'll probably get something like that. Except,
all right, so I don't know who this is on screen with us. 1217. If they want to come on, they're on mute, so we can't hear you. But it seems like they're showing us their bottles of vintage and repackaged version.
That was pointless.
That was good to see. I wouldn't know how to separate the two bottles, but so you guys think it's going to be a Baccarat Rouge? I can't see that happening. I think that would be very shameful and embarrassing for the brand.
Yeah,
I think
I don't
Rouge
think he's gonna.
Trafalgar was almost their version of Baccarat Rouge 540. You know, even having Rouge in the name, that enough was too much coincidence for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'd like to see something new and innovative. As much as I think Fleur de Mal is a fantastic perfume, I don't even want to see Fleur de Mal copied. You know, I want to see a new fragrance. We are talking about one of the greatest brands, Dior, and one of the greatest or could be potentially greatest perfumers ever. So there's a lot of hope here. There's a lot of potential, but we know Francis has gone commercial. I don't think he cares about the creative success anymore. And we know Dior's gone very commercial.
What makes you say that though? Because like just from his own brand, from the way that the
what's he
direction
done? What's he put out in his own line that's been half interesting?
Come
on, the rose was a flop. The fluidity thing was a joke to even put out.
Yeah. I'm struggling to find something. I like the oud. I don't like the silk mood and the ones with the rose in, but I like the original oud. Now that is
I like the original oud.
Yeah,
I like the original oud. I'm not
I like the kind of use of saffron, and that's what I like about Baccarat Rouge 540. And I keep going on about this, so I don't want to sound like a broken record again. But Baccarat Rouge, whether you like it or not, it clearly was a landmark. You know this.
Yeah.
I like Baccarat Rouge. Yeah,
I like
innovative.
it as well. I like the fact that there's this ton of ethyl maltol in there, as Woozy was saying. That basically that is somehow like tempered down, because like I say, I got a somebody's formula of it, which I think is pretty close to what it is. I've knocked it up and I'm like, that smells like Baccarat Rouge 540 to me. And it's not a particularly difficult perfume. Like I say, it's all readily available materials. But what I love about that is that it's so simple, and it's taking a really, really sweet thing and then adding all this kind of mossy, like umami kind of like to tamper it all down. And you've got this sort of balance. I mean, it's still a sweet perfume, don't get me wrong, but the amount of ethyl maltol that's in the formula that I made up, I was like, this is impossible. This can't be a perfume. You can't do this, right? Because my use of ethyl maltol is like a tiny amount.
This is all ethyl maltol, and it worked. Right?
Yeah.
Ethyl maltol is not a bad thing. You just got to know how to balance or dose it correctly. And I think Baccarat Rouge was a great fragrance. It was innovative. It was the first of its kind. It was unique.
Yeah, I can't, like I say, just going through the I don't own any of those Kirksham perfumes, the Maison Francis Kirksham.
That says a lot, that you don't own a single MFK. That tells me a lot.
Yeah, I know.
And you were just asking, we were just saying, what was the last best MFK or the last best release from that brand? Considering you don't own a single one and you are a fragrance connoisseur enthusiast, says a lot.
I know. So, what were you going to say, Rich? What don't you agree with? Come on, let's have it.
No, it's not that I don't agree with it. It's that I don't own a single MFK either.
Wow,
there you go.
Not interested.
Damning indictment there, isn't it? Fucking hell.
Not even a vintage one. Oh shit. No, I've no interest in spending that kind of money when there's like other stuff I could get for the money that would just do 10 times better. I think it's I think one of the most damning things I could say about MFK is that it's very modern perfume.
Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah. But for my collection, my tastes and stuff, I don't buy many modern fragrances.
Sure.
And I assign that sort of like that vibe to MFK. It's like that, like MFK. When I smell MFK, I smell department store. I smell footballers, like young wealth. People who have got more money than they know what to do with, so they buy MFK. People who buy lots of MFK buy it because other people buy it.
Right.
They buy it because
off a name alone.
they buy it because people they look up to buy it. They don't buy it because they like it. They buy it and then they like it. You know what I mean? They go in. It's like I once heard. I swear to God, I once heard two young lads dressed in sportswear, right? Tracksuit bottoms, t-shirts, like they'd just come from like football training or the gym or something, and they were straight to the MFK counter, and they picked up Baccarat Rouge, and they both covered themselves in it, and they were like, "Yeah, this is the one that so and so talks about on YouTube."
Yeah.
I heard those words, and instantly, it just made complete sense. I felt like it was like one of those eureka moments where that's the nature of influencer. That's the nature of modern sort of perfume at the minute. You know, that they want to smell like this person who said that they wear.
Sorry,
It's
Rich,
the same
what was
as
the
like
comment? What was the comment that the two friends were
the
talking
comment
about?
was the comment was, this is the one that they talk about on YouTube, or this is the one that a certain person on YouTube talked about. And it's like, this is the one that they all like love. This is the one they all like. And it was like, that's what that perfume's aimed at. That's what MFK is aimed at. I was also talking to one of the reps who she was the manager of the Dior account at my local department store. And she moved to Creed. And I thought she was just covering there, but she said it was like she was no. I've moved to Creed, and I was like, all right. And she was like, do you know, 50% of all Francis Curtijon sales are Baccarat Rouge 540, and 70% of all Creed sales are Aventus. And I was like, wow. Yeah, Aventus. 70% of all Creed sales are Aventus.
Yeah, those two perfumes carry the rest of the brand.
Absolutely shocking. That is completely unsustainable, in my opinion.
I mean, people joke that Aventus basically got Creed their New York boutique. So
yeah, I totally agree.
Are you an MFK fan?
I do own a few MFK bottles, but like you said, the work from the last 3 or 4 years has not been great, to say the least. Like, I think his most recent series was that Cologne Forte, which I thought it wasn't terrible, but it didn't really do anything for me. The Fluidities, they were okay. Fluidity Gold was a decent vanilla, but Fluidity Silver I didn't enjoy, even though that was sort of more of a masculine fougere.
Yeah, they're quite harsh, them, aren't they? The silver Fluidity, definitely.
Yeah, silver is it's also like metallic and sort of like shower gelish sort of smell. I don't know what it is about it, but I didn't enjoy Fluidity Silver. The last truly great MFK was one of the Soirs. I think Grand Soir or Absolute Polar Soir, depending on your taste.
I think both were good.
Yeah, both of those were pretty good.
I think both were excellent.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of him not being a one-trick pony, I think you can say he can make a kind of ambery sort of perfume. Yeah. He can make an orange blossom. He can make this. So he has got a few different like strings to his bow, so to speak. Yeah. He's not. So you know, we can again try and be positive and hope that he's going to do something good. Just funnily enough, I've just got this on my table. Actually, this is safraline, right, which is the material that I think he uses quite a lot in that original oud, because that's a very twangy. I mean, this just smells like really strong saffron. And in Baccarat Rouge as well, and that's what I like about it. It gives like heat and like leathery kind of like sort of like a real, it's almost like a tingly sort of stinging kind of heat and like earth. It's I love the smell of saffron. It's a beautiful thing, and I think it's one of his like go-to kind of things that he likes to do with certainly with that original oud, which was been on my list. I mean, when did it come out? Like 2012. I was like, I love that. I need to get it. Where are we now? Like fucking 10 years later, and I still haven't got it.
Yeah.
He's also a big fan of those white musks, isn't he?
Yeah. But I
big
like that
sweeping
kind of
white musks in the base. Very clean, soapy. Not really sensual, just very boring.
But I think, honestly, I think Marilis is better at using white musk than he is, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I'd rather have seen more. I like what Marius is doing at Gucci. I would much happier. I'd be happier with Marius at Dior than, then I would have been optimistic. But it could also be Gucci's creative directorship, kind of leading Marius by the hand.
Yeah,
I think
Marius is as commercial as they come.
Yeah, I think if you look at his own like mise-en-scène brand, you'll see that it's it's probably the Gucci's creative directorship is probably pushing towards a more edgier sort of slightly blockier style. That they
Do you like them mise-en-scènes, Eugene? Have you got any of those?
Sorry,
mise-en-scène. That's his
I've
brand,
not smelled a single one.
They're okay, but
yeah, they're okay. There's quite a lot of them. There's a lot of kind of fresher, his sort of more commercial style, but they are nice. I mean, they're expensive, but and I think he's got some oud ones which are quite nice, but they're not particularly oud either. Very Western. But, yeah.
So if you guys had to choose, would you recommend Mise-en-Sur or MFK as a brand?
I probably wouldn't recommend either of them. I think the mise-en-scène are, I haven't explored them enough. The ones that I've tried have been like, wow, that's really pleasant, like fresh fragrance. And if I found this like in some bargain bucket somewhere, I may just get one just for the sake of having it because it's in a nice bottle. And
bottles are nice, yeah.
It might be a bit of a nice fresh thing to wear in the summer. But other than that, I'm not that enamored. There might be some really good ones because there's quite a few in that line. I didn't realize how many there was. He just keeps adding them. But I think as far as he is concerned, he's clearly an amazing perfumer. And this is what I think about not getting too hung up on, I like this perfumer or I like their style or whatever, because most master perfumers or perfumers who are well known and have done a lot of work, they can go from the sublime to the ridiculous, right? They can make something that you hate to something that you think is genius or whatever. So I think they're all capable of doing different things, so you can't get too hung up on even Demachi. Because he's made some good stuff. And I know you don't want to give him credit for that leather oud. You're like, he never made that.
No,
someone
it's
in his
just
lab
too
made
good
that.
to give him credit for. You know what? I wore the oud rosewood on Saturday. I was just like, oh, it's so hard to wear. It's like it just tries to be so edgy and different, and in doing so, completely ruins the fragrance. It just reminds me of that goth kid that's wearing like black nail polish and black lipstick and wants to be noticed just for the sake of being noticed. They're trying to express themselves, but to no avail.
Wasn't that Sixth Sense from your video? He's that kid.
Something like that, right? Yeah, the daddy issue kid.
So yeah, I think I think we've said that all we can about Dior. We've just got to wait and see what happens. And like I say, I've got my fingers crossed and my toes crossed and everything, hoping that it's going to be good, and that we can all come on here and say, I know we all have different tastes and differences of opinion and whatever, but imagine there was just a consensus off the board that we were like, he's done a really good perfume. I mean, that would be exciting, wouldn't it? And if he was taking, scaling that line down and taking it in a direction that, we approve of, then, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Are you familiar with Eris Parfums?
No, I was talking about them the other day. I can't get them. I've tried to get the samples, but they don't ship to the UK, unfortunately. But loads of people have been talking about them.
Absolute shit. Sorry, absolute shit. I got in touch with her and I was like, I would like to buy a bottle of MXXX. Everybody raves about it and I would love one. Can I buy one? And she was like, no, you can't. Sorry. And I was like, well, cheers for that. I'll be off. You know what I mean? I was like, that absolutely shut down. She was like, no, you just can't have one. Basically, we don't ship to the United Kingdom. We don't ship anywhere apart from the United States. I was like, what the fucking hell's the point of you then? You know what I mean?
Is there any source where you can pick them up in the UK?
No. Absolutely not. She's just bound to the United States.
So then, how does Perslace get these bottles then, given he's UK based?
He must have somebody
good
sending them.
question.
He must have somebody like on the inside getting them to sell. Or maybe I don't know. I wouldn't like to speculate. Maybe I could ask him. But I mean, I asked her. I went straight to the source, emailed her, and she got back to us. To be fair to her, like I'm paraphrasing when I said like she said no. Basically, she said no. Sorry, we don't sell.
Well,
to
you
very
gotta
nice about
understand
it.
it's not the easiest thing to ship to the UK, right?
I
Especially with Brexit
totally
now.
understand. I totally understand it. I totally understand it was being flippant, but at the same time, it was like God, like, send
To
us.
be honest,
send us perfume.
I'm kind of struggling with that now. I like an issue has come up for me shipping to Brexit because the UK has separated from the EU. In order for me to distribute in the EU, I need a European address, which is one thing. Now, if I want distributorship in the UK, I also need a UK address on my packaging now, which, it gets costly and it's time consuming. And there's a lot to go around that, right?
It's same for me. I mean, it's had a real impact on my business, because I used to have a lab in Ireland, in Republic of Ireland, years ago, but I shut it down because for various reasons. But we didn't really do much work over there, and it was kind of easier to do it from the UK. But now that obviously I'm actually trying to sell product into Europe, and because it's a medical device, it has to be CE marked and all that kind of stuff. So essentially, I need to have an address in Europe to be able to, go through all the regulatory processes and everything. And it would have been easier for me to just have kept my Irish company, but that was like quite a few years ago that I did it, and I didn't have the foresight. I didn't think we'd leave Europe. So the fact that we have, and now to set up an Irish company is a hell of a lot more of a ball ache, and it's much more involved. And I'd have to get an Irish passport, and I wouldn't have had to do that before. So I have to have dual citizenship and all this kind of bollocks. So it's become more difficult.
It gets complicated. If you're outside of the UK, it's complicated to ship in, and if you're inside of the UK, it's complicated to ship out.
Yeah,
the backwards people fucking turned out en masse. The fucking backwards bastards. You know what I mean? All the little islanders turned out. That was what it was. It was the greatest con ever pulled. Absolutely raging. I was fucking gutted when we left the EU. I must admit.
Yeah.
It was just made everything. It just made everything harder. You know what I mean?
Andre says he got his Eris from a stockist in France. Sends unique, and they ship directly to the UK. Rich.
Oh wow!
I cannot access that website. I just tried, and it will not let me in.
You. They've blocked your IP address.
They're probably listening to the stream. They're probably just listening to the stream and just blocked us. That sounds about right.
They thought you were an extreme reseller.
Can you buy samples though? Because I'm not just going to drop I'm not going to blind buy a bottle. You know.
I think they do have a sample pack.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah. Like in that case, that's fine. But I'm not just going to, on the reputation. I mean, a lot of people go on about that MXX, which is just a weird name for a perfume anyway, because they've got one called MX as well. And
yeah,
there's MXX and then there's MX as well.
It isn't the story behind that. Somebody told it me the other day, but I've completely forgotten. She was like, does anyone know the story behind Eris? Somebody did tell it me the other day that she was like, I'd have to, it's in my Instagram DMs, I don't know, but I think she was just somebody who set up a brand. She was, I don't know, outside of like perfume or whatever, and just like an average kind of. I think she's been
inside of perfume for quite a while, and has written books.
Right, okay, okay.
I've not read it, but I think the book called Scent and Subversion is hers.
Oh, okay.
I think she's deeply rooted in the perfume industry. Like, she's got work in several places. So,
okay, sure.
And I think her forte is vintage style fragrances.
That's it. Yeah, sorry. She's like a vintage writer, blogger type person.
And
Here we go.
you know, I'm not sure if Antoine Lee has created all of her perfumes, but he has done some.
Oh, of course. There's the link there with Antoine Lee. So yeah, that was. I think that was what sort of put me onto them in the first place. Thinking about what other perfumes he's done. Just coming back to the forthcoming podcast that we were doing, we were talking about État Libre d'Orange. And basically, the other two guys I was doing that with really don't like the brand at all, and we're kind of saying, like shitting on them from a great height. And I was kind of like, yeah, I do own a few, but I get why people don't like them. They're very out there. They're very kind of,
weird.
Okay, yeah, they're very sort of weird. And there was one Fin du Monde. Do you know that one? I think that's. Who is that by? Is it is that an Antoine Lee?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I know Rien was his. I think Secretions Magnifique was his, and I think he may have done one or two more for the brand.
I think Fin du Monde was Quentin Biche, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because again, that's kind of linking back to so Dan sent us me and Ben 4 really expensive perfumes from his collection. 3 of them he was sent 3 bottles of, so they were from the brand, because we were like, you didn't pay £400 for this, did you? Fuck me. And then one of them he did buy, which was the Clive Christian 20th anniversary, but one of them is by a brand called Rubius Milano. And I think there's some kind of fashion brand or something, or they make jewelry or some shit. And they've got these various different bottles. So one's like an emerald color, one's like a ruby, one's like a sapphire. And they're 500 quid for 50 mil, which is just, as Rich would say, outrageous.
It is outrageous.
Who did Fat Electrician?
Do I like Fat Electrician?
No, who created Fat Electrician?
That's a good question. I've no idea. Let me have a look. Be super quick. Fat Electrician. It was Antoine Maisondieu. Antoine Maisondieu. So yeah. Anyway, this is by Quentin Biche as well. This Rubius Blue, and it's a fantastic perfume. It's instantly like his style. He's also done one for that Essential Parfums brand that I was talking about, which is very cheap for what it is, called Bois Imperial. It's a bit loud for me. I hate it. Yeah, it's a bit screechy, but it's his kind of signature style. And I like the fact that there's a modern perfumer doing something where you can instantly go, that is his perfume, even though I forgot that he did Fin du Monde. But it's that kind of like fizzy, really complex kind of incense. He's done those Ganymede ones as well, didn't he? Like the Marc-Antoine Barrois ones. So they're all similar. But this is probably the best one, because then it goes into this weird like iris leather. It's a super complex perfume. It lasts all day and it just changes. But for 500 quid, it's just stupid, for 50 mil. There's no way I'd ever buy it, even though I thought it was glorious, So it's just, where's your limit of what you spend money on? I think that was what we were, and how you perceive value. Is it from natural materials? Is it from the artistry? Is it a fancy shiny bottle? But I think the end conclusion is just that it's in the eye of the beholder. It depends on your disposable income. It depends on loads of different things. And at the end of the day, it's kind of ruining the podcast. But the conclusion we came to was, I don't know. So that was kind of it. But it's an interesting conversation, I think, because everybody. I mean, you own some expensive perfumes, or all you guys do, and it's what your limit is, or what you kind of think is too much, or whatever. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't
mean,
know. Like, can you place a limit on art? To me, fragrance is art first and foremost, and I think it's all really subjective. Either you want to pay for it or you don't. It's that simple.
Can I
We all
just say?
have our
Can I
limits.
just say that? Can I just say that Sends Unique? That Sends Unique website. I can get onto the homepage, but as soon as I click on anything from the homepage, I get an error code. And Andre Z just posted a message saying, "Same for me with the error, not just you." So that Sends Unique website is not working.
Yeah, fatal error.
Paris. It's working for me.
Yeah, it says fatal error.
Yeah, it says that to me.
Yeah. It's just the homepage that pops up.
Yeah, that's not good.
I wonder if they're even aware of how much money they're losing by the moment.
Well, the thing is that the website hasn't been updated for the copyright to 2022. It says 2021, so maybe it's not active anymore. You know, if you look at it, it says 2011 to 2021. It doesn't say 2022, so maybe they're just not there anymore. You know. I wonder what the fatal error is.
It's weird. I just got an email from them over the holidays.
Tell them to sort their website out.
January 12th, I got an email from them.
So,
Tell them to
how is your perfume going, Eugene?
Well, my perfumes are done.
They're fully done.
They are complete. I've signed off on them, and they're going through the testing right now, the testing stages. Great. Yeah. So I spoke to Remy. We talk a couple times a week, but last weekend he thinks we can start filling by the end of February.
Oh, wow.
Bottles. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's great news.
So right now we're just going through regulations. I need an EU address on my packaging, and Remy has offered to provide that for me.
Right.
He says if you want to distribute in the EU, you need to find an EU address. I'm like, do I need to distribute in the EU? Maybe I can just ship from here. I might not, I might not have that distributorship the first go around, but with time, eventually we'll get there.
Yeah.
Right.
So speaking of testing, what sort of testing is your fragrance going through? Is it like sort of stability testing, like temperature,
right?
UV,
Stability, yeah. Toxicology. We'll make sure nobody's going to get ill. I'm not exactly sure, but it is a several month process. It could take 2 to 3 months.
Do you know in general sort of what temperature fragrances are usually stress tested to?
I'm not sure, but when we talk to Remy, I can have him back here, and we can come up with a bunch of questions that we want to know. But I definitely want to learn more about the maceration and the maturation process, and we'll all learn together.
I wouldn't have thought it'd be anything.
I think they take them below freezing, though.
Well, I think they've got to account for what is going to be the lowest. Yeah, well, not necessarily the lowest, but a low. Let's say you're shipping them to Canada in the winter, and they may potentially be sat on a runway somewhere or in a cold warehouse or whatever. And the same, they might be going to Dubai or somewhere that's really hot. So they're not going to go. I wouldn't have thought they're going to go above like 40, 50 degrees or something, or probably to freezing. I don't know. In fact, it's a good question. I really have no idea. But I know from other types of products, but I don't know whether cosmetics are that, or fragrances, they necessarily the temperatures are a critical thing, but it might be.
Yeah.
Why do you ask?
Yeah, I live in Australia, and it gets freaking hot here.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't recommend leaving it in your car over the summer, but at normal temperatures, it should be fine. Although I do sometimes I'd rather leave my fragrance in the car during the winter than the summer. That's for sure. I feel like they're safer in the cold weather than in the warm weather.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same for like all skincare and cosmetics usually.
Yeah, and this is another point that flashpoint. At what point will they kind of go up in flames, right?
Given its alcohol, yeah. I think I remember in because a skincare brand that I use is called Paul's Choice, and I remember that when they were talking about stability testing, because their entire distributorship is pretty much all by mail basically, and the guy that said is, oh yeah, we test to make sure that, for example, if a toner arrives to you frozen in a block of ice, all you need to do is forward, and it'll still be just as good as when it left our warehouse. Or if you live in like the Saharan desert, if it gets to your doorstep and it's like 50 degrees outside, then it should still be all right, assuming you haven't left it out there for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you can, Eugene. You've got experience with the of doing that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Why did you repost the video today? My friend was asking me that. Like, why did you? What? No, she was just wondering why you reposted that video.
Who was asking you?
My friend. Like, she watches.
It's been a while, so I thought it'd be nice to see.
What did you repost? What, you blowing up bottles with your
Club the New Eden
torch, whatever.
Just having some fun, playing. I mean, shorts is relatively new, and I've never posted a short before yesterday. It's like, let's try this out. Now you can add music to YouTube without a copyright strike. So
can you?
I saw you decapitating that Leighton. Was that on Instagram? Oh no, that was on YouTube, wasn't it?
It was on YouTube, yeah.
Yeah.
I was on them both, Instagram and YouTube.
Right.
But Rudy's asking about coloring. Where did that go? Am I adding coloring? So I had asked Antoine about coloring the fragrance, and he kind of looked at me like I was retarded. I don't think he's a fan of colors. He likes naturals.
I mean, I'm assuming you're using there's probably naturals in these perfumes that.
Nothing will be colored, but I did ask him about it, and I thought, I wanted to know his opinion, and just by his reaction, it was like it felt like a big no. So I was like, all right, I'll respect that,
Yeah.
I think there are some cases where you might want to add coloring, like if you're creating a cologne and for whatever reason, the ingredients you put in it makes the liquid just pure black, then you might want to consider adding some coloring to help, temper that down a bit.
Yeah.
But in most cases, I don't think coloring is really necessary.
Some brands use coloring, some don't. It's mostly for marketing purposes. I don't think there's anything wrong with coloring, but no, we will not be using coloring.
But you surely you've got to infer from that the fragrance itself, when it's finished, must be pretty clear, because any color that it might naturally have would interfere with, like, let's say you wanted it to be blue and you've got loads of naturals in there, or like stuff that makes it really ambery colored. How do you then get that back to? I mean, you can get some materials that are like decolorized. So,
well, they add coloring to it. It's a food coloring they're adding.
Yeah, sure. But what I mean is, let's say your perfume already naturally, when he's finished the formula, it comes out like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like looking a bit like piss. Right? How do you then? Because if you start putting blue in there, it's not necessarily going to come out a nice vibrant blue that you want.
Maybe you got to add gray to get blue to that. Well, I don't know. It's a lot of testing.
I know that certain materials you can get that you can remove the color, or you can certainly dampen it down. But like a lot of things you've got no choice with. Do you know what I mean? Like that's benzoin, for example. So if you've got loads of benzoin in something, it's going to be discolored, with a slightly ambery color to it. So no, it's just interesting. Like it would have been interesting for Antoine Lee to tell you, rather than going, I don't put fucking colors in that. You know what I mean?
He's kind of like confused. Like, why would you want to do that when the naturals are so beautiful? He loves natural, right?
Sure, he does. Yeah. So, and
I completely a big change in his direction from working mostly with synthetics in his earlier days to mostly naturals now.
I think what's amazing also, if you are somebody who formulates a perfume, seeing what color it comes out at the end is great.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time it comes out kind of like a canal water sort of brownie color, but like this, for example, here is a finished concentrate of a Fahrenheit type thing, and it's very green. I don't know if you can see that it's quite green. It's almost like Eau Noir. Like that would be like, you probably can't see it very well in the light in here, but that is like the color of Eau Noir. So don't touch it, leave it. I know it'll be
that's got to be coloring, right?
Yeah, I would have thought all of those Diors have got coloring in, but this is where, you know, these are the questions that we speculate about. We don't know, you know. We need somebody to come and tell us, and it might not always necessarily be. They might not always necessarily have all the answers to it, because they might do their perfume differently, you know.
Yeah.
I
was just thinking here, what Rudy's saying is Roja takes color out of his perfumes because it stains white colored shirts. You know,
there you go. His that's another factor.
Very heavy.
Yeah, that's another factor to it. I know as well with like filtering, obviously, you know, you should filter naturals and stuff like that, because they have, you know, impurities, and that's all to do with the stability as well. You don't want things falling out of solution or getting, you know, bits of stuff in it, basically, because that's all they'll test, is that you know, you don't leave it over time and then you're getting bits of like sediment forming in the bottle, because, you know, it doesn't look very nice, and it could potentially affect the actual perfume, you know, the smell of it as well. So yeah, interesting.
Don't a lot of fragrances often mention that, oh, you know, if you see natural sediment or color changes, that's like the natural beauty of the fragrance or the ingredients.
Yeah, that's a good get out, isn't it? And I know some people say, oh yeah, it needs to like macerate. If you should be selling somebody a perfume, okay, it may well change over time potentially, but you should really be selling them something that is already a finished, you know, reasonably stable product before you've even got to that stage. Because I remember, do you know that brand Argos? Have you seen those? Which is quite utterly ridiculous to me, Rich, because that's a fucking like a catalog store in the UK. But he's got
actually a football team here in Toronto. Argos.
Well, there you go. So it's like I mean, he's got like fancy bottles and stuff, but he was always saying, oh, you know, basically just knock up a batch, get it out there, and then tell people, oh, it's macerating in the bottle when you've got it. That's not very professional, you know.
He's big on the YouTube scene, trying to get his stuff out there and over marketing his stuff as well. He's a bit of a
that brand. Who's the perfumer? It's like a perfumer brand, isn't it?
He's not the perfumer, I don't think, but he's certainly a marketeer, or somebody who's gets his bottles out there. And you know, I think he's given a lot away, which
absolutely,
you know is fine. But all it does is you know, devalue that brand for me, even if I ever was, because he kept liking my posts. Right, again, I don't want to slag the guy off. I don't know him, right? But he's liking.
Yeah, we don't like people liking our posts, right?
Well,
don't like our posts.
No.
We're posting not to be liked.
No, but he was liking my posts in a kind of way.
Motherfucker,
like,
stop liking my posts.
Yeah, exactly. What's this guy playing at, right? So what's this guy's game? Yeah, so he comes out. I mean, I'm not, you know, I think he was coming on basically. I don't know. I was suspicious of him. This was ages ago, before he had these fancy bottles and stuff. And he was saying to me, "Oh, why don't you try like my brand and stuff?" And I was like, "Well, do you want to send me a sample? Like I'll wear it." And then he just kept coming on, like going, "Oh yeah, my brand," and kept sending me adverts. And I just said, like, don't send me adverts. Like, I'm not really interested in your shitty brand. I wasn't rude, but I was just kind of like, why are you like targeting me and like posting? I just get suspect, you know.
Right.
I not in a horrible way. I'm just like a regular Joe. But why?
You don't want to be mistaken for a shill.
No, it's not even that. It's like, why do you even do that? Like, by all means, send me something to try. Like I say, I don't want the hassle of having a full bottle, to be honest. But send me a sample. I will try it. If I like it, I may well buy from your brand and I'll support you. But I just find the tactics really strange. And then he didn't need me after that, because he realized, oh, this guy's not really important. Not that why ever, why is it? I think it was just like a blanket thing of like, who follows who? Let's find a person and let's just get my bottles out there. And I understand he's running a business. They're trying to get their name out there. But
you get brands reaching out to you wanting to send you stuff?
Never. Never.
If I do, it'll be a big corporate brand like Pete and Pedro or one of those types.
Right.
I don't even respond to. I just kind of chuckle, going, "Yeah, you found the right guy to send something."
I have done in the past, and I've politely said, "Yeah, I'll take the person," and then I felt a bit guilty, and I basically did a giveaway, and then I was like, I'm not even gonna. But I think people, they either read my posts and go, "Oh, we don't really want to associate with this guy anyway," or they just, I'm not of interest, and that's fine by me, because that's not why I do it. But I have had situations where I've bought sample sets and then an individual perfumer has gone, "Oh, I really like all your like posts and stuff, and you're great. I'll reimburse you for the sample set." And just nice things like that. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm like, that's good of you, like, what's her name offered to do it? Francesca Bianchi. That was really, she didn't have to do that. And I actually said, no, it's okay, I'll buy them, but it's not a problem. And some other perfumers have done that with no, independent type brands or whatever. And some of them have sent me, like Les and Demodable sent me that amber one.
Amber Supreme.
Yeah, they sent me a little travel spray of that. That's all I need to go, this is a divine perfume and I'm going to buy it anyway. So, but yeah, I don't really begrudge anyone now. I used to be really militant about it and go, oh, people shouldn't be getting stuff for free and whatever. I think if you bring something to the table and you're knowledgeable but who am I really? I'm not the arbiter of like taste and whatever in the community. So it's just in my opinion, but there's not a lot of people who I think really deserve free bottles, and a lot of them get them. And I'm kind of like, well, what are you really, what are you bringing to the table? But that's just me, I suppose. But like I say, I don't really talk about it anymore because it's old hat, and really you just concern yourself with what you're doing. And I think I'm taking a leaf out of Eugene's book, and just letting it,
let people do what they want, and you can see what's going on, and just let it.
Yeah. I can still hate people from afar.
Right. Right. We just don't need to make it public.
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
Heavy, right?
Yeah. So anyway, that's me. I think I better go anyway. But thanks for having me. And I've really enjoyed it, and I do really enjoy coming on here. So
thanks for jumping on and sharing your thoughts with us. Always love seeing your head, your face.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks.
Good luck with the podcast. Let us know when it starts up, and we will share it here for you. And,
thank you. Well, I will do. I will do.
Send me a message. Send me a message or whatever. Come back and reintroduce us to it when the time is right. You said at the end of January, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Ben sent me the kind of little, because you have to do an episode 0, like an introduction of who we are and what we're talking about, like a little snippet to put on so people know who you are. So he's edited that together tonight. So yeah, and I mean he's a pro. He like, it's literally his job is doing podcasts. So we're in good hands with him. And he's a good guy. I like him when he comes on here. He's very because I didn't really know him before, and that's wonderful about it. We kind of met on here. We'd already agreed to do. Yeah, we'd already agreed to do the podcast.
You had known of each other, but you had never really met until you came together on this stream. Yeah. I remember it was kind of.
And he went, "Oh shit!" And he was like, "Oh shit, that's you." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right." So, and we actually have a lot in common. we both played in bands. He's into like certain music and stuff like that. So yeah, it's cool that it's good to find this kind of kindred spirit in that way. And I think it'll make for some interesting conversations, And Dan, the other guy, he's quite acerbic, and he's got like a lot to say for himself as well. So yeah, hopefully people will enjoy it. So I'll certainly enjoy it anyway. But yeah, okay, guys, right. I'll see you, Woozy and Rich.
Awesome.
And,
I think it'll be great. Both very opinionated and a lot to say about perfume. We look forward to it. James,
cool,
thanks so much. Good to see you.
Take it easy. All the best, lads.
See you later.
Bye. Much love. Bye. Bye.
How you doing, Rich?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm very well.
So what was his podcast name? Because I never got around to asking that, actually.
Les Odorants or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, Les Odorants.
Somebody remind us.
It was like Les Odorants.
Yep. I'll keep an eye out for that because, good fragrance podcasts are actually very common now that I think about it. I think there's only one fragrance podcast that I can think of off the top of my head.
Which one's that?
The one that Fragmental did, I think. But I think that's now been discontinued. Well, not discontinued, but like, I think he finished it up recently. I remember Fragmental did one on Spotify a while ago.
Yeah.
Eugene, I was telling you, me, you, Galen, and Thomas should do one, but it just never happened.
I don't think I've ever gone outside of YouTube to watch any or listen to any content, so I'm not really aware. If somebody's doing a podcast, I think uploading it to YouTube would be great.
Yeah.
There was a time when Christo and Cascade Sense kind of collaborated on a podcast. It didn't go very far. They did a few episodes. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was it was on YouTube. There was no no visuals. It was just them talking about perfume.
I love that. I love the idea of that.
It's basically
what my videos. Sorry, it's basically what my videos are. That just me showing the bottle and then talking about it.
Speaking of Christo, has he sort of contributed anything to your brand, or like have you spoken to him about your brand before?
Who's that?
Christo.
I haven't spoken to him in a while.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we haven't spoke. It's been a while since I've seen him. He's moved away. He's moved 3 or 4 provinces over, and
okay.
I think he's just kind of taken a bow out of YouTube.
Yeah. I remember he did a stream where he was basically just saying that he was just leaving to focus on other things, I think.
Yeah. There was a time where he said, he told me privately that he didn't want to create any more content for his channel. He didn't mind coming onto my streams or making videos with me, but he didn't really want to make any more content for his own channel, which is, fair enough. He's free to do whatever he likes or not do, right? So I hope he's doing well. I wish him the best wherever he is. And if he ever wants to come back, he's always welcome. I think he knows that, though, right?
Yeah.
If he's watching or if anyone talks to him, he's always welcome here.
Yeah, I miss Christo as well. Even if he just made videos on his own, like fucking, he was like a proper reviewer who, like, one of the first reviewers I watched when I realized that there's more to fragrances than like what's in like designer, like designer perfume. There's more to fragrances than designer perfumes. There's more to fragrances than like the shopping mall experience. There's
interesting fragrances.
Yeah, exactly. And how to find interesting fragrances even in the mall. Do you know what I mean? Like how to find like stuff like Fahrenheit Absolute and stuff like that. Like how to find interesting fragrances that are out there and available, but ones that aren't in your face. So he expanded my horizons quite a lot. And I miss the fact that he doesn't make content anymore.
My favorite series was his old Sucker Shit series. That was good.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, he was kind of the first guy to do something like that. Usually it was like very positive and and loving, everybody that reviewed fragrances at the time loved everything, and he was the first guy to say, fuck that, like these actually suck,
Yeah.
And like, to be fair, like he wasn't trashing what other people were liking. He was trashing, just a wide variety of stuff. It wasn't just what everyone was liking to go against the grain.
Yeah, I miss the park videos too. They were great memories. Good times. We usually grab some beers and
the Rose and Queer video.
What's that?
The Rose and Queer video.
Yeah,
I want to redo.
Very, I remember quite clearly and vividly. And I even missed the it was the road trip streams, right? Where we just get in the car and we'd head to Toronto and stream. We'd spend the day in Toronto, like shopping, sniffing, just walking about, and then stream on the way home, another road trip. So those were a lot of fun.
Yes, that's right.
A lot of fun. A lot of guys here remember those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It was good. It was good stuff, before the pandemic.
Before it all went upside down, yeah.
Oh, you're upside down.
I am practically upside down compared to you guys, but you get what I'm saying.
What's that, Woozy?
I said I am practically upside down compared to you guys, but
yeah, we were in the middle of we were reviewing Bois d'Orage, French Lover from Frederick Mall. We were in the park sitting at a picnic table, and there's this river behind us, and there's this guy sitting there fishing. And it must have been fall time because the salmon were coming up, and he just starts screaming at us. I'm like, I turn around, I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, shut up, basically. Like, not so rude. And Crystal's like, holy fuck, he has a fish. And the guy was screaming at us to come over and take a picture of him and his fish, right? And I say to Crystal, like, do you want to start the video over again? Or he's like, no, leave that part in. That was like the best part of the video, right? I'm like, all right, that's cool. And see, lo and behold, people still remember that stuff.
Yeah. It's memorable, yeah.
Yeah, it's good times. Yeah, the unapologetic burps, the belching, and the, just the eating of chips. Oh, wow.
I had some absolutely sensational crisps tonight. They gave us life. I probably wouldn't have streamed if I hadn't had these crisps. They were absolutely, honestly, they instantly improved everything, every aspect of my entire life. I was absolutely buzzing after I ate these crisps. Like, I was flagging, I was tired, I was sad. Like, things were sad and dark. And I ate these crisps and I felt so much better.
That's good, man. So Speedwolf says we got so wild and talked so much shit in the live streams that I had to change my YouTube. Speedwolf, what was your original name? I can't remember.
Is Speedwolf Serapio Silva?
Oh, I doubt it.
No, that would be a plot twist.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know why Serapio would change his name.
Serapio changed his name to Speedwolf. Ask him what his favorite scent is.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of Frederick Mall name changes, has Unrose become Rose Tania on?
It has.
In you guys' side yet? Because I've still got Unrose in my distributor at the moment.
Right.
So, yeah. Buy them up; they'll be worth extra money soon.
But did it actually smell? But does it actually smell different to Unrose? Have you smelled it and compared it to like Unrose? Like, is it literally just a name change, or does it actually smell different?
I don't know. I haven't been able to smell it yet.
Apparently, there's a price hike coming soon, though, for like loads of LVMH perfumes.
Chanel's going up here. I just got a text from my sales assistant saying the prices are going up. So if you need anything, I was like, oh, great. Again, here we go again. Didn't they just go up recently?
So who knows? Maybe those new Guerlain prices won't look so outrageous anymore.
Yeah. It is. It's bonkers. It's absolutely insane. Some of the price. I mean, the inflation is large, but I mean, they've been putting their prices up. Chanel put their prices up 10% every year for like the last for like the last 10, 15 years. Do you know what I mean? It's and since it's percentage based and it's not like in real terms, like they're putting it up 10%. So it's actually a bigger increase every year on year. It's a bigger increase, you
It's
know.
a compound, yeah.
So yeah, it's gone from £270 for it went from like £274 for a 200 ml Les Exclusive up to £300, and that's £300 the price now. They're going to put their prices up 10%, so that means it's going to go to £330. So the next year it's going to be £360, right? It's going to be £364. And after it's 364, you take 10% of that, it's going to be an extra 36 quid. So it's going to be over £400 in 3 years.
That's way too much.
Hey y'all.
It's insane. It's disgusting, really. Hey y'all. Hello, Juma Rose.
Hey, I just slipped in.
What's up, Yura? How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
This man's dulcet tones talk me to sleep every night.
No, I thought I'd slip in on pricing because I think that's always a very interesting issue. And I take Eugene's point before about saying it's art and whatever you want to pay for it and stuff. But what would you guys think is like a reasonable price for perfume?
The most I'd pay is probably like I'll quote in my currency, but on average, outside of something very special, would be 320 Australian dollars for something at 100 mils. That's probably a peak of what I think all fragrances should cost. So I don't know what the conversion is on that.
How much did you say? Sorry,
320 Australian is probably the most outside of something very special like Frederic Malle or the Hermes stuff. So like for the average niche brand, 320 is the highest you should ever go, Australian. Also, bear in mind we have a 10% sales tax, so take it.
So that's about 300 Canadian dollars, and that's about average what a good fragrance costs.
Yes.
The answer to that is the answer, and that's whatever you've already paid for a fragrance. Right? You've all answered it for yourselves.
Yep.
And Woozy, like what perfume what would the perfume have to do to warrant you to pay more than you would usually pay?
Like, it would have to be, in my books, world class. Simple.
It would have to be what?
It would have to be world class. Essentially, it would have to be like the best of the best within its category.
New and unique, something that you haven't experienced before.
Not just new and unique, but also like a standout in its class. So, like, for example, if there's like this genuine world's greatest fougere of all time that was released like last year and it costs 400 Australian dollars, I would buy it because I know that that's like the best of the best within its category.
So, what would make it the best? What would it have to do?
It would have to do what it wants to do very well, be convincing, and also I guess there would need to be some degree of uniqueness to it as well. But yeah, it is quite subjective, and I try to use my best judgment possible to be able to make that call if I'm spending above my upper limit, as I call it.
Right.
Rich, how would you feel with vintages? Because I suspect that'd be slightly different, like what you'd be willing to pay for certain things, because it's more rare.
Did you hear my story about the girl on Derby today?
Yeah.
So the girl on Derby is a great case in point. You have to use your judgment, like Woozy said. That's the ultimate thing you've got. It's what you're willing to pay for it. So it's what importance you assign to it. Right? So the girl on Derby, I really, really, really want one of them Eagle bottles. Right? I really want one of those Eagle bottles. But there comes a point where I could have just bid 350 quid on that fucking bottle just to get it. Right? But you have to respect money. You have to respect money, and you have to have some self-respect as well. You have to think to yourself, I mean, are these people taking the piss? There is a point, that can work both ways as well. There's like some people who are like overly tight. Like there are some people who are like who it's as if it's like a war. It's like nobody's getting money out of me because like I'm too clever, I'm too slick, I'm too clever, I know what I'm talking about, and nobody's getting this money out of me. Sometimes you've just got to pay the money to get what you want. And sometimes
you've brands doing so well as well. Because people think they're getting the same thing for a cheaper price a lot of the time.
Yeah. because people think they're slick.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. People think they're fucking clever. People think they're slick, but it's all about what meaning you assign to it, how deep in the game you are, what is important to you. And frankly, a lot of times it's not necessarily about perfume. It's about you yourself, how you operate, what you're prepared to give and take. You know what I mean? And it's more fundamental, it's more profound than just like, what's this worth? It's like, what are you worth to yourself? And I one of the best pieces of advice you can say to somebody about buying things, especially at auction, is have a budget and stick to it. You know? And if you don't do that, if you can't exercise that sort of control over yourself, it's sort of like a window into yourself. Like that bottle of Derby, I could have gone mental and just said, right, finally, this is the one. I found it. It's sealed. I could just bid 500 fucking quid. Nobody's ever gonna fucking top that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like money, like, you know, you've got to respect money, whether you like it or not. You know, well, I mean, a fucking world without money would be lovely. You know what I mean? But it's not happening. It's not happening now, and it's not happening ever. Sorry.
So here's an interesting question. Guerlain Derby, the juice that's in the Eagle bottle, how much do you think that would be worth if it was recreated exactly as it is and sold by like a niche brand? How much do you think would be a reasonable price for it?
A fucking reasonable price. I think a reasonable price, if it was that exact fragrance with that exact fucking bottle. Say if it was in the same bottle as well. So it was exactly the same, but it was being sold by a niche brand now. Right.
Yeah, it's like a new release, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and what would be a decent price for that? I would say probably about, for 50 mils, right? Because that's what size this bottle was. 50 mils, probably about 150 quid. For an each brand, but it would depend on the availability of the bottle. You know, like say, because that's the problem with vintage fragrances. There's it's a problem, but it's also like what makes it exciting. There is a very, very limited supply of what's available, and that's why the price is such a fucking nightmare, because there is a limited supply of like Duke Night Flight, right? There's a fragrance called Night Flight by Duke. Now there's a limited supply of that, and it's discontinued, and I can tell you that is not a good fragrance. Now, there are some people out there who will have grown up in the early 90s wearing that fragrance and had like the love of their life and had the best sex they ever had when they were wearing that fragrance. And they used to go clubbing and it was the best time of their lives, right? And they will think to themselves, I must have that because I must smell it again, even if it's just for a scent memory. Now, to them, it's worth a lot more than what it's worth to me, right? But the quality of that juice, you've got to also trade off the fact that the quality of the juice, right? The ingredients in Duke Night Flight is not the same as the quality that Guerlain used in Derby. The quality of the blending, the quality of the bottle, the quality of everything. It's all these little things, right, add up to your judgment, and it's just about getting experience of operating in that type of market. It's more of an environment than it's a market, you know. It's very sorry.
Oh, I'll let you finish. Sorry.
No, I'm finished.
It's like I think that if Derby would be put into the Listerine bottles, because I know it's been discontinued, it would sell for the same price as Lidge or Heritage, and they'd still make a profit on Derby.
Yeah.
You know, I think like niche prices always have that aspect of you're getting something better just because it's more expensive. But I don't think Derby would need to be priced any more than Heritage or any of those. There's nothing in it that stands out that it's got amazing ingredients in it that would warrant such a price, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They could do that. I'd like them to.
Yeah. Do you think vintages are, like, for the average consumer, do you think vintages are necessary, Rich?
For the average consumer, no.
Yes.
For the average consumer, I would say no. But if you're into vintages, then yes. There are if you value certain things, If you value certain things, right, then you are going to want those things, right? If you value, say, exclusivity, if you value the type of ingredients used. Now, I avoided saying better ingredients. I happen to think they are better ingredients, but that's subjective to me. That you might think they're shit. You know what I mean? For me as well, I could justify it to me, and that's what matters. That's at the end of the day, that's what matters. When you say the average consumer, I take that as somebody who, because the vintage crowd is there, but it's nothing compared to the average quote unquote consumer. The average consumer wants to smell nice. They don't want to spend a fucking fortune. They want to smell as well. They like people recognizing their perfume. You know, that recognition. It's a good icebreaker. Yep. Like if you're standing outside a pub having a cigarette, and a woman comes up to you and she says, "Are you wearing Sauvage? It's really nice. I really like it." That is exactly what a lot of people want, right? And that is there. Like Eugene and Houdini was saying before, I'm not as militant as I was about that sort of thing now. About how everything smells very similar and everybody should have, but it's not, because it's, for me, if somebody, like, if I was standing outside a pub having a cigarette and I was wearing, I don't know, I was wearing Balenciaga Pour Homme, I happen to think it's fucking beautiful, like, but it's very unlikely that a woman is, like, a young woman, an attractive young woman, is going to come to us and says, "Are you wearing Balenciaga Pour Homme? That's amazing." Do you know what I mean? It's very unlikely, but that's not what I'm going for. You know, it depends what you want, and then it depends on the import, like the importance, what you place on what you want, and then you've got to reference it against how much you're willing to part with to get it. Today, I was willing to part with £250 for 50 mils of Girl on Derby, but not £251 and 69 pence, but not a penny more. And somebody came in with £261 and 69 pence, and fair fucks to them, right?
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. And I will just wait for another one to turn up, and hopefully one does.
So what do you think about, like, when reviewers say something along the lines of, "Oh, you know, this fragrance is great, but only in this bottle or only in this variant. Make sure you try to seek out this bottle, otherwise it's garbage." Like, what do you think when reviewers?
I am one of those people. And it's a very fair point you make. It's an extremely fair point. What's he saying?
He's laughing at how much it's doing.
So you said 269 quid for Derby.
Yeah, 261. Yeah.
There's about 460 Canadian.
Right. For 50 ml.
For 50 ml. So
507 Australian dollars.
I mean,
Rich, that's a lot of money.
Is it that much better than the current Derby? Is what you got?
Yes, it's better. It is definitely better, but it's not
much better.
Exactly. Is it that much better? It's not for me. I wasn't willing to pay that. But I will also say, what will I say?
But it does look good on the shelf as an enthusiast and as a collector.
It's sensational fucking stuff. It's fucking
and
beautiful.
Just knowing that you have a historical artifact, you know, it's like collecting art.
Yeah, I've got one of those derbies. I've got one of the modern derbies, and it is good. But the old one is superior, and considerably as well. Woozy made a point of like, what do you think when reviewers say you need it in this bottle and not this bottle? I am one of those people, and I do take the point that can lead to bastardry. That can lead to people being shithouses, because it can be a bit like, I've got this and you haven't. I guess my
point was, but I think the thing is that your audience watches you for the vintage stuff mainly, mostly.
Yes,
I'm talking about reviewers who aren't even targeting the vintage audience. They're trying to target the mainstream average consumer, and they still go on about vintages. Or like when they're reviewing a fragrance, they're like, like I think recently it was maybe 2 years ago where I saw some guy be like, "Oh, current Sauvage is crap. Make sure you go for 2016 or before Sauvage." I'm just like, what?
Right.
Is that really
It just
necessary?
brings a whole new spectrum into the reviewing game, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like if you're reviewing for the average consumer, do they need to be so focused on like trying to chase bottles when they aren't enthusiasts themselves?
No, I would agree with the point you're making there, that when it's modern stuff, like here's an interesting point, right? Take Koros. I have got every iteration of Koros imaginable. So I've got the Charles of the Ritz, which was the first one. I've then got Parfums Core, which is the second one. I've then got the Sanofi era, which is the third one. And then I've got the Gucci one, which is the fourth one. I've actually got the latest bottle as well. So, but what I can tell you is, right, between any two reformulations, so between the first and the second reformulation, right, there isn't as big a gap as there is between the first and the third. So if you're talking about the first formulation, the original, and the second one, there's no need to worry for the average person, right? For the average person, there's no need to worry when one reformulation takes place. If you've bought one, right, and it's the third formulation, and then it gets reformulated again, you shouldn't have any problems buying the fourth one. But if you bought, say, the second formulation, and then you've kept this bottle and you've missed the third formulation, but then you want to rebuy it and it's the fourth, you will notice a huge difference. So it becomes a bit like the Richter scale. It's sort of Jura, what is it called when a scale like is like by a factor of 10?
Magnitude.
Sorry?
The magnitude.
It's not magnitude. No, it's not. It's orders of magnitude. When a scale is like 10 times, like 2 is bigger than
logarithmic.
3. Logarithmic, yes, it's logarithmic. So when you buy the first one, I hope I'm making this is not an easy point for me to make. When you buy the first one, right, it's the original, brilliant. You will notice a massive difference if you then go on and buy the third formulation, but you won't notice so much of a difference between the first and the second. If you buy the first formulation and then you don't buy another bottle until the fourth formulation, it's not going to be the same fragrance. You're going to be like, what the fuck has happened to me scent? You know, you're not going to be happy.
A massive difference is very subjective, Rich. Are you able to get the same emotional experience from fragrance 1 to version 3? Like, will you be able to feel
the same? Not the same. No, not the same. But that's because
I can understand a difference in the materials, and maybe the patchouli is thicker, and you can feel the fibers. But if you're like me, I love all that. I get it. I get collecting vintage and having to have every version. But if you're like me and you wear perfume to kind of feel what kind of emotion it stirs within, is the third version going to deliver as, I don't expect it to deliver 100% compared to the first one, but is it going to deliver the same emotional experience?
So I will qualify this greatly, right? For me, no. For other people, almost certainly yes, right? Because that's what I'm focused on. That's what I like. That's what I want from my perfume. I want
the thickness.
The very particular. I want that particular. I take joy in knowing that I know which one I'm wearing. Like there's Koros, right? I've got 3 like partials of Koros at the minute, the Gucci version, which is the mid 2000s, right? And I wear them day to day. But if I want to wake up and I want to walk around with a boner all day, I'll put on 2-3 sprays of the Charles of the Ritz. If I'm if I want to feel really special, if I'm going out somewhere, if I just want to put the cherry on the cake, right? I'll wear the certain version that I know. I don't need other people to know. But that's me. That's what I want from the perfume.
Right. You wear it for yourself.
Exactly. And I wear it to satisfy my
But
Nice.
is there enough difference where you yourself are going to be able to tell if you're wearing a Charles of the Ritz versus a Gucci version?
I can, yes.
If you were to spray blindly, not knowing what bottle it came from, you could tell the difference.
Yes.
There's that much of a difference.
For me, there is, yes. But that is what I have targeted, and that's what I've made my, like, that's one of the things I get out of the hobby, is knowing the differences between those little differences, being that, I want to use the word pedantic. I don't want to use the word pedantic, but it is being pedantic. It's being that sort of like honed in, that sort of like dialed in, that I know the differences between the different formulas. That's the thing that I like about collecting vintage perfumes. You know?
Dissecting vintage compared to other formulations, and there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with
as well.
that. That's
No,
your thing.
I know, but that's my thing. For other, when you're saying for the average person, or even for you, will you get the same emotional experience? If you do get the same emotional experience, right, that is a good thing, because that's what you're looking for. That's what you want. I'm not denigrating. I'm not trying to remove that from anybody else. What I'm saying is, from my point of view and my sort of like experience, I get that emotional experience from those things, from knowing it's the Charles of the Ritz, from being able to tell when I walk around through the day and I can smell the little definitions in between that separate the Charles of the Ritz from the Gucci version. I really, but if I'm just walking around and let's say I'm just going shopping, but I want to feel like a bit of a fucking rascal, right? I'll throw on the Gucci one, because I know it's more expendable. It's more of a daily driver, right? It's more of a. Imagine a girl came up to Rich and asked him if he was wearing Charles of the Ritz Chorus. I would genuinely shit myself. I'd follow through. I'd be like, can you smell that? It's got a fecal tone. I'd be like, fucking. I would absolutely fucking love it if a girl came up to us and said that. I would be on my knee. I mean, it would take us a while to get down on one knee, but you know, I'd be fucking loving it. I'd be absolutely over the moon. But I've gone on a bit of a rant there. But what the point I'm trying to make is that's my sort of, I don't want to say kink,
That's
but
your
that's like, yeah, it's me shtick. It's what I enjoy about the perfume. Right. I know that's, and there's nothing. What I'm saying is part of the point is there's nothing wrong with the other point of view, where you want to wear something fresh and clean, and you want to wear that, and when you put that on, it makes you feel amazing, right? That's fair enough. This is something I've come round to recently. Like I was saying before, I'm not as militant as I was. Like, I don't go around like slaughtering people for wearing Sauvage. If people ask us, I'll say, well, I think it's shit. You know what I mean? But I don't offer that opinion. Like, I haven't got it like in me holster ready to whip out and shoot someone in the head with it. You know? Right. I'm not like, by God, you're wearing Sauvage, you fucking peasant. Get out of my airspace. You know what I mean?
You're thinking it, but you're not saying it.
Yes, basically, yeah. Right. I'm sitting thinking to myself, well, you're wearing Sauvage, so you're obviously not like me. But as I've gone on in this hobby, I realised there are very few people like me. Do you know what I mean?
Over there.
Do you think the differences between back on the Kuros? Do you think that the differences between the Charles de Ritz, Parfum Corps, Sanofi, Gucci, and whatever garbage L'Oreal's doing now? Do you think they warrant the price differences between each of them that you'll find online? Like the fact that the Charles de Ritz is outrageous compared to like a Parfum Corps or Sanofi, or the fact that Sanofi is way more expensive than the Gucci era Kuros. Do you think it warrants it? The difference in smell
compared to the other things on the market at those price points? Yes. Only in reference to what you could. So there's a Parfums Corps at the minute, right, which is £188. There's a bloke from Poland. I've bought a few fragrances off him, but he wants £188 for this Parfums Corps at the minute. I look around and I think, what else could I buy for £188? I could get a 50 mil Creed. I could get some Amouage, probably a 50 mil, probably not even 100. Like I could get some indie brand where some perfumer set themselves up, made a couple of frankly average perfumes, average blended perfumes with great ingredients. I could get a lot of things for that price. Would I be getting and the ingredients that were available in the mid to late 80s and the quality of the blending from Pierre Bourdon, would I be getting that? The sheer quality of it. Personally, if you're asking me, you wouldn't be getting that. Like that trade isn't even a thing. I would always go for the vintage because you're getting the quality of the blending, you're getting the quality of the ingredients, you're buying like the bottle. You know it'll hold its value if it's something like Koros. Almost all the fragrances I've got are extremely rare and they will only go up in value. Unless the bottom falls out of like the perfume market.
Can I make a little comment?
Yep, sorry.
Sorry, before I lose my train of thought in this. With vintages as well, one thing that interests me is, like, Eugen was talking about stability testing and the fragrances. This only happens for a couple of weeks, maximum a couple of months. So we don't really understand how fragrances keep over a long time, let's say 30 years. And remember, you've got chemicals in there, in alcohol. They're going to change, they're going to oxidize depending on the temperatures. If there's light in there, shift bases can form, whatever. And what's interesting is the Kouros that you could be smelling might not smell the same as someone who would have smelt it when they bought it back in, say, 1982. It could have a slightly different smell. It could be better, it could be worse. Like, we know that sort of top notes and things high in terpenes like olibanum, they can go off and oxidize. But some materials, like some florals, like orris root, for example, you buy it depending on how much irones it has. And irones form under oxidation. So the more irones it has, the nicer and the more orrisy and more violety and orris material will smell. So it could end up, if it has a high amount of iris, and it can end up smelling better over time. And that goes for things like vetiver. Vetiver smells better with age. So in a way, the vintages you could be smelling could be worse. They could be better than actually how someone would have smelt them back then. They could actually smell the same as the current formulations, but it's actually the aging process has actually helped them smell better as well. So that's I think it's an interesting thing. I don't know if anyone's actually looked into that, but
because it's very likely that Pierre Bourdon probably did the reformulations of the silver shoulder Kouroses, probably.
Yeah, certainly. I would say certainly the first two, possibly the third, because I'll tell you, he made Kouros Sport, and he made Kouros Fraîcheur, which was released by Parfums Court in 1993. So you have to imagine from 1981 when it was released until at least 1993, he was involved with the making of Kouros, right? Yep. Kouros flankers as well. So he has probably done the reformulations, which is very important for me. It shows a level of continuity, a level of consistency that I want, because I don't know this for certain, but I feel like reformulations are given to junior perfumers at big houses, and they are told, here is the previous formula, here's a vague idea of what you've got to do with this perfume, and here is a list of ingredients that you can't use now. Keep it smelling similar, maybe make it a little bit more modern, take out this, put in this, and then you just crack on and do it. Because that certainly feels what happened with Kouros. If you smell the one without the silver shoulders, it's tragic. But to answer Eugene's point that he made before, it still gives the impression of Kouros. It's just, the problem is it's like looking at a picture compared to being in the presence of the person. You've got a picture of your mother. This is a horrible analogy. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but you've got a picture of your mother, right? And your mother dies, right? You've still got the picture of your mother, right? but you can't actually see your mother anymore. You can't be in the presence of your mother anymore. It's like that's what it's like.
Or
for me
maybe
with a
an
vintage
original painting compared to a print.
Yeah,
In the
yeah,
original
exactly. Yeah,
painting, you can still see the texture and the oils and.
Yeah, that's a much better analogy. Like, I'm not like I don't want anyone's mother to die for perfume, but you know what I mean. It's like
no.
it's God no, but it's sort of like that sense of loss. It's just not the same, you know.
Yeah. I
And
think
I find it very difficult. I find it very difficult to let that go. I must admit, Eugene's a lot easier, a lot calmer and easier with like forgiving the loss of that, whereas I can't. You know, I'm not trying to make this. Yeah. It's something I value, though. It's something I value, though, and that's why I'm willing to pay more for vintages. Exactly.
To be fair to Kouros, I mean, I think Bourdon bemoans the fact that Costas was banned, and that was a major part of the Animalis base that gives that sort of real animalic pissiness in Kouros. And when you take that out, that sort of halitosis effect, you're not going to have that same effect as you had in Kouros, especially because that was such a highlighted note. So I can understand when you actually take a massive component out of a perfume. Like Rich, I remember you saying that you smelt the difference between real civet and the synthetic stuff. And if you have a perfume with like a massive civet note and you replace it with a massive amount of the synthetic civet, it's going to be different. You're going to notice that difference because it's a major component. And I think that might be the case with Kouros, is that major component being Costas was banned. And then, you have to try and work around that, sadly. And yeah, I can understand why there'd be a big difference.
Rich, are you familiar with current Kouros? And what's your?
I
know you called it unworthy, but what do you really think about current Kouros?
I would wear it if I didn't have anything else, and I did wear it because I didn't have any of the vintages. Took me a long time to get the vintages. I'll get asked a lot, like even in the chat. I'll get asked a lot, where do you get this? Where do you get this from? Where do you get this from? And how do you get it? And I've got to tell people, like, I've never said this, but it's like the main thing you need to get vintage fragrances is time. Because there's a hell of a lot of waiting for stuff to come up, there's and you've got to be prepared when it does. You've got to be ready to go. You've got to be ready to go when it arrives. There's been stuff that's been registered on YouTube, on eBay, right? And as soon as it's come up, it disappears straight away. It disappears within like 20 minutes. Sometimes people have got search terms and stuff like ready for like eBay to like message them and say, oh, this has appeared. There were 16 bidders. No, there were 16 people watching this bottle of Girl on Derby today, and there were like 6 bidders. And it was like,
and I bet you they're all here in this stream.
There might be, yeah, to be fair. But there are people who
competing against each other.
There are people who want that bottle of perfume, and you've got to be ready to go. And you will lose. You will lose out as well, and you've just got to keep going. It's just time. It's just graft.
How what I mean? Do you spend on eBay? How many times a day do you go on eBay?
Nothing like I used to. Last year, the year before that, it was the back end of last year where I said to myself, look, like, no, like, it's driving us crazy, and really I don't go on eBay. The fact that I spotted that bottle of Derby is actually a miracle, because I rarely go on eBay now. I've also found other places to like look for perfumes and stuff, so I don't need to spend as much time on eBay. I've run out of things to buy. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of many vintage perfumes that like I need or want, which is why I'm looking more now at like sampling stuff this year. Buying sampling sets, maybe buying some. I want an oud. I want like a proper oud, just because I want one. But to answer your question, I don't spend anywhere near as much time as I used to on eBay. I used to be all over it. A big thing for me. Sorry, I was just going to say a big thing for me was last year when I got all those bottles of Balenciaga Pour On backed up. I got like 10, 50 ml bottles to go with like the 4 or 500 ml bottles I've got. And for me, that I felt like that put out a fire inside us, you know, and it was good. It was a good feeling to have that fire, but I felt like I didn't feel the anxiety of like I'm going to run out of Balenciaga because I love it so much. And now I've got so much of it, I can wear it. People are like, "You'll never wear all that perfume," and I'm like, "Well,
maybe not.
Maybe I fucking will."
My
you know what I mean?
Everything, maybe. You don't know that.
Could do.
But
we'll see.
Here's the thing. I've got my one and only bottle of Kuros. I don't know what version this is. It says BRI.
Does it say Sedex Newly on it?
No.
Does it say Sanofi on it?
Nope. Oh yeah, it says Newly Sedex. That's right.
So put yourself on full screen and show the bottom to the camera. Hello.
That's the Gucci bottle. I think
that's the Gucci bottle. Yeah, it's the Gucci bottle, yeah.
Okay, so to me, when I wear this, I think it's brilliant.
Yes.
It wears great. I enjoy wearing it. And the beauty of this is I've never smelt any other version of Kuros. So I have nothing to compare it to. And that to me is almost like a saving grace. You know, absolutely. I have no desire to chase anything outside of this. I know this one bottle will last if I wear it, you know, once or twice a year just to get a taste of Kuros and remind myself of it. This does the job. And I think, you know, for me, it would be problematic because I know my habits if I were to start chasing or going down another rabbit hole of vintages. But, you know, I've never experienced any other version of this.
Personally, I don't think it's good to trash the current version if the current version is fine just to hype up the vintage version. Like, for example, if like vintage perfume X is, you know, 7 out of 10, no, sorry, 8 out of 10, and then the current formulation is 7 out of 10. There'll be reviewers who are like, oh, you know, the current formulation is garbage. It's, you know, the worst thing I've ever smelt. When in reality, the difference between the current and the vintage isn't actually that great.
Yeah, it's like I was saying. It was like I was saying before. It depends. It depends which vintage is. It depends which vintage, like the difference between like first formulation and fourth formulation. You know, I also agree with Eugene's point as well. It depends which first one. Like ignorance can be bliss. Ignorance can be bliss at some point.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I am. Very ignorant to the whole thing.
Yeah,
but I think
that
it's
version you've got's good though. That
Yeah.
version you've got's good. Like I wear that as like I wear that before I wear. I'm gonna work backwards with mine. Like I wear the Gucci ones. Basically, as a rule of thumb, the silver shoulder versions are better than the white shoulder versions. What's going on? Who was that?
That was
I'm gonna
JJ.
head off.
Maybe he'll come back. Oh, he's here. All right,
I'm
so
gonna
let's
head off.
introduce JJ.
Hi.
What is up?
Hello.
And we've had him here before. JJ
Yeah.
was on before.
Back in November.
Good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I just needed to jump in. All this talk about Pierre Bourdon bemoaning the loss of Costas and the Kuros formulations, more recent formulations. So where did he say this? I'm just where.
So what exactly are we debating here? What was said?
So apparently Pierre Bourdon stated that what he was most disappointed with was the restriction or the banning of the use of Costas in Kuros. Did he say that in an interview, or I just want to know where?
I didn't realize Costas has been banned.
It's really restricted. I think that it is under IFRA.
Costas labdanum?
Costas, like Costas root. So Costas root is what contributes a sebaceous, oily, furry kind of like scalp quality to a composition. And it was one of the main components in the classic Animella space, which you find used to great effect in Kuros. But since the early 80s, Costos has been heavily restricted. And I think at this point, IFRA has banned the use of it within IFRA guidelines. But there are Costos replacers that I've used and I've smelled that really, I mean, when you smell them, you can't tell the difference between them and natural Costos root. So my argument is that it's not actually the Costos that's the issue with the more recent formulations. I think it's the fact that they're just not even choosing a Costos replacer. It's just completely eliminated from more recent formulations.
Do you think, right? Here's a question about vintage, right? Because I think this about reformulations. Sometimes reformulations are made because of guideline changes, because of the lack of an ingredient, because you can't use a certain ingredient because it's been found to be dangerous, or that they simply can't source the ingredient anymore. Do you think that they tweak formulations on purpose for stylistic purposes to make it more, to make a perfume more
modern,
modern? Yeah, to get
That's
like
Francois
Chorus isn't it?
has built a career off of that.
I think if they do that specifically, they let people know, similar to what Dior does. If it's genuinely such a stylistic change that it's noticeable to the average consumer, they'll let people know.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that there is very much transparency with a lot more modernized formulations. I think that it's what they almost rely on is this subtle shifting and adjusting and tweaking over time until they hope that there is this convincing interpretation of the original composition that has just changed enough that they don't really notice it. But I think that those who are keener to it or have compared older formulations will notice it. I think it does happen. I think that there are attempts to modernize and to make that particular scent relevant to a newer consumer that's younger and is probably not used to some of the heavier compositions from 30 or more years ago.
I would agree. I would agree. I think stylistic changes are more common. This is like a more considered opinion. This is something I've come to think. I'm not sure of it as an opinion by any sort of stretch, but I think that stylistic and modernization of certain fragrances is a thing when in reformulation. The reason I think this is I've smelled perfumes that I think are almost completely synthetic, and there would be no reason to change the perfume because they found there would be no reason to change it on health grounds. I think they've changed it because of the changing trends of perfumes. Perfumes are almost always reformulated to be made lighter, and if you look at the trend in perfume, light perfume has become over the last 20-25 years much more of a thing. It's become that's the direction of travel for perfumes. Lighter area. We all know of Indian niche fragrances and some designers that are huge, bombastic, outrageous fragrances that are massive, But if you look at the general direction of travel, it seems to be going towards lighter area fragrances, and that is what you will find stylistically in reformulations. That perfumes are always made lighter, and that's one of the things that makes me think that reformulation style. Sorry,
it's the 21st century paradigm. Innocuous, palatable.
Yes.
The clean living movement. Where you don't really want to be noticed for having a fragrance. So why have a fragrance that is going to make a statement? You want it to be as antiseptic as possible.
As anti-perfume as possible, almost. What's the purpose?
I mean, look at the newest Chanel release. That is a sort of a perfect testament to that, to where we are.
But that's like a revitalizing body spray almost.
Yeah.
That's what we're calling it, right?
That's more like skincare to me.
it really isn't perfume in any sense of the word. I mean, it may be marketed as such, but nothing that I would consider to be perfume. And I think that there are a few things that are in motion within the 21st century that have resulted in this. How we change as consumers, how, you know, our perceptions of individuality have changed. So in making an individual statement, one would think that that involves having something that really presents to the world as you know, a signature scent, you know, something that really gives you character. But really, it's all about going inward, you know, and really search, you know, really you know, the identity thing right now is a big thing. So I think that anything that isn't going to be a trigger or offensive sort of thing is really what's de rigueur right now. And as we know, fragrance can be really triggering to people. So, and I say that in terms of this age of you know, allergies and sensitivities. You have all that comes into play. So what does the perfume industry do to compromise that? They're going to scale it back a little bit so that people can still get away with wearing fragrance, but it's not going to really have that kind of tenacity that it used to have. I think it really is.
I was going to say that I need to head to bed. It's nearly 2 a.m. here. But just on, because JJ asked me about the Pierre Bournon thing, and it's fair. Have you seen the Frederick Malle Summit video with all the perfumers?
Oh no, but
if you watch that, he actually gets quite angry over the banning of Costas, and you can tell he is alluding to the Kouros. And that's why I brought that up, because it wasn't me thinking that. That's why I said to Rich, because I've never smelt the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also Costas is, I've just checked, because you said it is prohibited under, it was IFRA 40 2006. So it's completely, you can't use it.
Yeah.
It can cause kidney damage, yes.
Yeah. So, but I just want sorry, Woozy.
So Costas is banned primarily because there's a component of pure Costas that can cause kidney damage.
Kidney damage.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we have to look into
smoking alcohol, though.
We have to look at how IFRA made that determination.
But what I will say is that for context, Costas has been banned, I think, outright in certain skincare products for a period longer than it was in fragrance, I believe.
I've seen an earlier IFRA one in the 90s, and it was prohibited for a lot of other things. It's
So would one argue that there is something missing from the Costas replacers, much as with oak moss having no atronol is something that's missing from oak moss?
There will always be a slight difference when you fraction an essential oil. There will always be something missing.
But there's some people done some cool things. I remember Rich was telling me about your story of Thierry Vassa and how he went around that using was it carrot seeds?
No, it was celery seed.
Celery seed, that was it.
Removed the oak moss from Mitsuko, and he managed to do something and craft an accord using celery seed.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It's really interesting.
Well, that's the challenge that perfumers have, is working within those limitations. It sucks, but what can you do within those limitations to really reconstruct as much as possible and convincingly? I mean, I've had Costas in my.
I don't think their job is to reconstruct as precise as possible. I think there's a video of Francois Demachet out there somewhere talking about reformulating Chanel No. 5 when he was with Chanel, and he said something along the lines like, "We're not trying to get it back to original. We're just trying to get it, good, right? Just trying to get it good to today's standards."
Right.
And some things actually go up, and IFRA doesn't actually always reduce everything. Like isoeugen acetate went up from the last IFRA 49, which was in 2020. It went from like something 4 point something percent up to 16%. So you can actually use more of that material. So the whole idea of IFRA is to try and see how safe you can, what's the safety limits on these things, and they change all the time. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down. I think actually Denby sent me something really, really interesting. There was a guy who prided himself on making anti-IFRA fragrances, and he got his fragrances tested, and they actually were all within IFRA guidelines anyway. Because a lot of limits, you won't actually, you won't get to them. Like, no one's going to go up to 0.6% jasmine in the whole perfume.
That's nuts,
So I think it is doable. I agree with the sense when Rich was saying that a lot of these reformulations are more stylistic a lot of the time, just to appeal to modern tastes. But apparently it's a can of worms. There's many reasons. It could be for money. It could be just because one material was banned, and there is not good ways to get around it. It could be for stylistic reasons. I mean, it's a case by case basis, I think, at the end of the day. But I don't want to babble on too long. I need to go to bed. But
Yura, it's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
Come back soon whenever you're available.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
enjoy the
thank
rest of the stream, and I'll see you soon. All right. Good night.
Cheers, man.
JJ, what's your take on Kuros, the modern Kuros?
Well, I said in the chat.
Eye roll. I see a big eye roll.
No, not an eye roll at all. That's
okay.
More like a general sigh. No, I actually am not offended with the more recent formulations. I still think that it kicks the shit out of a lot of current releases that are coming out in the niche realm. I still think that it's relatively well done. Is it exactly as the way it was 20 or 30 or 40 years ago? Absolutely not. But it's not bad. I mean, I don't really throw around shell of its former self too often. I think it's. Is
that overused?
I think it's kind of overused. I think it's overused. Maybe not so much for Kuros, but for a lot of fragrances that are still in existence that have been reformulated. And I have done so many comparisons between vintages that are relatively retained in that they've been stored and cared for, so there's very little degradation, and compared those with more recent formulations, and often I find that there isn't enough of a difference to warrant the zealotry of having that original bottle. A lot of cases.
The only reformulations we have noticed an oddly noticeable difference was there was a period from about 2014 to 2016 where Dior Homme was all over the place. During those 3 years, I felt like Dior Homme was all over the place in terms of which year you got your bottle from. That's the only time I've ever noticed an actual difference within modern fragrances. And that was a massive thing within the fragrance community was, which bottle of Dior Homme Intense or Dior Homme do you have? Whereas I think after 2016, things started to stabilize for whatever reason. There was just a period of a few years where maybe it was the production, maybe it was the crops of the iris, but there was just something that just caused Dior Homme to be super inconsistent in those 3 years. And currently, the biggest inconsistency that you'll find is everyone going on and on about batches of Aventus. Surely a company as big as Creed would not, actually they might intentionally do individual batches for the sake of trying to be different, but that seems like a bit much in terms of the reformulation boat. Or iceberg.
I can remember Gabe talking about Aventus and how the people from Dubai had been obviously obsessively copying it, and what they had found is that Creed had actually been active instead of being batch variations because of natural ingredients. What they'd actually been doing is they'd been tweaking the formula. And to make it basically to make it cheaper and easier to make over time, because the ingredients were very expensive at the beginning.
How much of that do you believe?
Well, Gabe said that Gabe had been to Dubai, met with these people who clone fragrances for just in the Middle East and like all these like clone brands. And what they had found during the gas spectrometry is different levels of certain synthetic materials, which would indicate that they'd actually been tweaking the formula rather than it was the differences in natural variations of natural materials. And I can believe that because the reason I can believe that is because Olivia Creed's a lying shit. I think he's one of the most cynical, like from what I've read, he's one of the most cynical people that I have come across. And cynical people do cynical things, and that's an extremely cynical thing to do, is to tweak it constantly. Once people love it and they found they've got an in and it's the most popular thing, how to make it cheaper, how can we make more money? The price rise, this would be completely in line with the fact that the price rises of Aventus have been absolutely shocking over the last 5-10 years.
Don't you think though that if the prices keep rising and the quality goes down, people would notice and stop buying them? Wouldn't that be a detriment to their brand?
Well, people have noticed.
Eugene, it goes back to your point about the average consumer. Do they notice it? No, because they do it slowly, because the batches are different between say somebody bought a bottle in 2017, right, and it lasted them 4 years. They would notice a difference when they went back and got a 2021 batch. But say somebody, it's their favorite fragrance and they want the bottle and they get it every 6 months to every year, right? They're not going to notice tiny variations, or the variations are going to be so small that they don't care as long as the overall composition is almost there. You know, like you're talking about the average consumer, like the average Creed fan isn't going to, and you've got to also remember as well, people aren't going to want to smell the difference. People are going to spend a lot of money on this fragrance and they're going to be like, something's wrong, but I don't want it to be wrong. And I love this fragrance and I want it to stay that way. There are none so blind as those who will not see. You know what I mean? And if people don't want it to be different, they'll convince themselves that it's not.
Yep.
That's a big thing about subjectivity. You know, it's about motivation.
But why just Aventus? Why not other creeds?
Because Aventus is the most popular one, and it's the one
that
the most average customer. That's you were talking about the average customer.
How much work goes into a reformulation?
I think all the rest of them are pretty much inconsequential at this point. They don't really do much with them.
70% of that business is Aventus.
Yep.
70% of their business is Aventus. They are putting money. I mean, BlackRock are obviously putting money into Aventus. But if you look at Creed's stewardship, Olivia Creed's stewardship, the way he has treated his brand over the last 10 years, I mean, with the way he's treated his brand and other people since its inception, if the book is to be believed, and we think it is because he said some pretty mad shit in it, and he hasn't been sued, he's not lying. You know what I mean? It's all verifiable and true. So you've got to take Gabe at his word, right? I believe him totally. Fits in with his pattern of behavior. The bloke is a massive cynic. He's a it's cynical at best, and it's fucking it's psychotic at worst. It's psychopathic at worst. Sociopathic at worst, probably. He does come across as a bit of a sociopath. From the things you hear about him, you know, manipulative, not very good at actually creating things, because psychopaths can't create things. They can manipulate things, but can't create things. And Creed tried to make his own fragrances, and they were dog shit. So he basically stole Pierre Bourdon's. Gabe says he's a master evaluator. That's what psychopaths do. They evaluate things. They look at things coldly. They don't care about other people. They just barefaced lies, he told, when he said to Pierre Bourdon, on the day you retire, I will give you 5 million euros, or an amount close to that. And basically, he's a manipulative cynic, and I think he probably is a clinical psychopath.
You've got him figured out, eh?
It feels like I do feel like I do. I don't want to go around like diagnosing people and stuff like that. But you've got to follow the pattern of behavior over his life. You know, bloke's a fucking nutter. Like I would hate to deal with him. You remember what fucking what Big Tony said about him from Le Parfumier?
Yeah, he read the line right out of the boutique.
Yeah. Total disregard for the man who had built his North American fucking
distributorship.
Supply. Yeah, absolutely fucking scam. Absolutely no sense of personal loyalty.
Sorry.
Go on, Eugene.
No, I mean it's you know, it's not an unbelievable story. It's on par with a lot of other things that have been said about Olivier. You know, always looking out for his benefit, always putting himself first above others,
manipulating and using other people. He has a history of doing that. You know, Big Tony built his North American distributorship, right? Cut him out. He's served his purpose. Get rid of him. Pierre Bourdon making the fragrances, making me a millionaire. Fucking get rid of him. Right? Just fucking keep him in a little. Sorry?
Absolutely sociopathic, Machiavellian.
Yeah, totally sociopathic. He feels nothing, and do you know what it is? He does it with a wink and a smile. He feels nothing for other people. If you would, sorry.
Do we know anything about how his son is, Erwin, the current Creed?
He's not interested in fragrance.
He's in the race cars, isn't he?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. Well, this is another thing. This is another thing about people who are fucking like psychopaths as well. They need like more and more extreme behavior to like satisfy their need for stimulation. You know, so maybe like this is a far reach, but if Olivia Creed is like a psychopath or a sociopath, like a clinical one, you know, it doesn't have to be violent. And Erwin's inherited the genes, right? And he needs stimulation, things that like doing Le Mans, doing extreme sports and things like that, you know. I heard from someone who met Erwin Creed at a perfume, like not a get together. It was like Essence or something in Italy about 3 years ago. And the thing they took away from Erwin Creed was that he never smiled. Not once did he smile. Apparently hated the brand. Doesn't want anything to do with perfumes at all. It's one of the reasons Olivia sold the brand. Because
Really?
Erwin doesn't like, he wants nothing to do with perfume. Doesn't want to be a tailor, just wants to race his race cars.
I remember when Erwin did a video with Jeremy smelling his fragrance, and his reaction was so deadpan, so nothing.
No reaction. Yes. There was no reaction.
And I just
apparently that's what he's like. Apparently that's what he's like all the time. Like this person who was talking about him was like, he didn't smile once. Like he never said like, but it's like he was never like animated at all.
Isn't he the face for Creed after Erwin?
Yeah.
Or after Olivier? I thought he was like the heir to the throne.
He's meant to be, yeah.
Yeah, he's meant to be, but he's not interested in the brand. He's interested in the money.
Wasn't he labeled as the perfumer for Viking?
Oh, he obviously isn't, but like...
Obviously he isn't, but he was credited with Viking, wasn't he?
Yeah, and but
was he not credited for Aventus as well?
Him and Olivia were both credited for Aventus, I believe.
Fucking
it was both him and Olivia. But the thing is I think that even with Viking and Viking Cologne, is that I get the feeling that Erwin wasn't even involved in the evaluation process like Olivia would have been back in the day. Because Erwin seems so disinterested that I think he would try to like maybe he'd smell and be like, yeah, sure, this is fine. What do you think, fellow advisor who actually has experience in the industry? Like he probably
listening to him in interviews, he certainly knows what he's talking about. Like he's not new at the fragrance lingo. You know, he throws around I don't know if they're just like keywords, but he's been around. It's obvious that he knows something.
But yeah, but in my opinion, I feel like Erwin, because of his passions in other areas, I feel like he treats fragrance as work, and he's not super
Right.
passionate about it himself.
It's just the front to get him where he wants to go.
And
Yes.
potentially he's doing it as well because to him it's his family's legacy in a way that he wants to continue in it, even if he doesn't really like it that much. That he feels obliged to continue it to the best of his own ability.
Well, doesn't that bring up the story of Jean-Paul Guerlain's son, who didn't want to take over the family business? He didn't want to become a perfumer. He wanted to be a lawyer. And that's one of the reasons they had sold to Louis Vuitton. They had nobody to pass it down to. Same thing.
Yeah, look what he's fucking doing.
He's ended up in a sociopathic position himself, or allegedly, right? Before we get into trouble.
Speaking of Guerlain, what is the actual story about Patricia de Nicolai and the Guerlain thing? Because I hear a lot of different like theories about why she never got into
sexism.
Raw
sexism.
She was a woman,
is it confirmed that? Is it confirmed that she basically wasn't given the Guerlain, as in like passed down to her being the next perfumer simply because she was a woman? Like, is that actually confirmed, or is that a rumor?
I'm not exactly sure, because it's interesting and fascinating that Jean-Paul Guerlain had handpicked Sylvain Delacour to be a creative director underneath him.
Yeah.
Right.
And then had Mathilde Laurent as effectively his intern / second perfumer.
Yeah.
So what was it about Patricia de Nicolai that he didn't want to pass it on to her?
I don't know.
Because she's a woman. Because maybe because she was a Guerlain woman, and he didn't want a female Guerlain to be in charge, and he would rather have a female who wasn't Guerlain. I don't think Guerlain operates necessarily the way we think it operates. We were always told that it was handed down father to son for years and years, but from the stories that are like coming out, there was always somebody else there working on the perfumes as well. Apparently Derby and Samsara were created by that female pilot. With Jean-Paul Guerlain, I think this is where a lot of investigative journalism would go a long way in the perfume and fashion industry. These people have got away with their secrets for far too long, frankly, and it should be more open and transparent. What I'm saying now will be anathema to them. They would not like to hear that, because it strikes me as a very secretive and almost like they encourage the secrecy and the privacy of it to try and keep it mythical. But I also think that they're hiding a lot of bullshit. I also think that they're hiding a lot of it's almost like wrestling. People don't realize, before the whole kayfabe thing fell apart, and all the wrestlers started doing shoot interviews, people didn't realize just how fucking terrible some of the shit that went on behind the scenes actually was, and the exploitation and the lies. And I think there's a lot of that goes on in perfume, and it takes that. And I think that a lot of the people involved in it, who have been steeped in it for years, feel that the secrecy, the lies, and everything like that is what it takes to get the perfume out. It's actually like a feature of the process, and I don't think it has to be. I just think that it's been, for so long, it's been a mystery. But I'm not expecting huge things to come out as far as transparency and stuff like that. You'll have brands like Frederic Malle who'll do the right thing and keep everything as transparent as they possibly can. But some brands have got culture problems big time.
A whole lot of jiggling pokery.
Frederic Malle is a much smaller brand, and it's easier to keep track of all that. And going back before the age of the internet and before perfumers were noticed or took credit, a lot of that got lost. Take Acqua di Gio, for instance. I think it's Alberto Morias who got credited for it, but he was actually the third perfumer to work on it, and he you know, he probably just changed one or two things at the end. There was 2 perfumers to come before him, and for whatever reason, they had left the project. So Alberto got stuck with it. He finished it. He was there for the launch, and he got credited for it. Now, is there a conspiracy to this? I don't know. I don't know how this stuff happens, but jobs get started, they get passed down, perfumers move on to other things. It's no different than, let's say, a construction crew starting off on a house and for some reason not being able to finish, they hand it off to another crew, right? It's just very simple. I don't think there is I think there's instances where we make more out of it than there's actually going on.
Yeah, I guess
no, we'll never know the truth, and I don't think it really matters to these people. To them, it's just a job. It might not even be as deeply passionate to them as it is to us, right?
So just briefly, in the chat, I have put a link to a video, and if you skip to 1 minute 9 on that video, you will see Pierre Bourdon talking about Costas. That was the video that Jura Rose was talking about.
Speaking of the French Lover, so it's generally well known now that French Lover was primarily a Jean-Claude Elena creation, and it was Pierre Bourdon essentially put on the finishing touches. Has that ever been? Well, actually, it has been acknowledged by the brand, but was it talked about in the Frederick Malle video, as far as you know?
I haven't personally seen it, but I think somebody did say before the book even came out and disclosed that or shone light on it, Frederick Malle disclosed it earlier. And he said Elena was contracted to Hermes and he needed somebody to finish it, and Pierre Bourdon was the man. So that wasn't a secret. That was open before.
Oh, Eugene, I'm going to have to go to bed now.
Good shout. What time you got there?
Fucking 2:20, 20 to 3.
Good job. You did well. I mean, for a short stream.
Fucking for a short stream, we've done 3.5 hours.
Yeah, almost on 4, which is on par for the average, I'd say.
Well, Rich, think about
would you?
Yep. Well, Rich, think about football fans down here in Australia who have to stay up at 5 a.m. to watch their favorite team play in the EPL.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I was watching the Ashes. Which was a painful experience.
Yeah.
That was 12 o'clock at night.
So every year, so every time the Ashes comes back to Australia, you'll realize what it's like. You feel the pain.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's right.
And it's even more painful because, as far as I know, even though I don't follow cricket, I know that England were pretty shite one day.
Oh, they were worse than shite. It was absolutely fucking awful. It was disgusting. It's despicable. They call themselves professional cricketers. They were falling to bits. It was scandalous.
So imagine staying up that late just to watch England get pasted by Australia.
That's exactly what it was. Up all night to watch we get thrashed. It was just, I mean, it's just a tradition. Especially, I love the Boxing Day Test. I think that's one of the great things about international sport. Australia's Boxing Day Test, fucking great. Christmas night, you're full of food. 12 o'clock, you cannot sleep because you're beached like a whale, and on comes the test, on comes the cricket, and it's like the darkest part of the year up here, and Australia's baked in sunshine, and you're watching the Christmas test. It's just mad. It's just brilliant. You know what I mean? The modern world.
And plus, it's the Australian Open where it's like there was Novak Djokovic, but that's obviously gone.
Yes.
And then you have the players getting baked on the court literally because of how the heat reflects off the court.
Yes, that's right. Excuse me. Yes, that's right. It is absolutely shockingly hot. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they play in heat like that. But it's just the way, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I think there's a rule where if it hits 40 degrees, they have to close the roof.
Yeah. There's a special temperature. I think it's about 55.3 degrees Celsius, where the human body can no longer regulate its temperature because it can't sweat enough to cool down. So you literally start to cook after that temperature. Like 55.4 degrees will kill you. It'll take a little while, but you cannot lose heat quick enough to regulate your temperature, and your brain starts to boil in your head. Basically, your internal organs start to fail and stuff like that. Crazy. There's places in Pakistan have registered temperatures above that. You know what I mean? Like in certain parts of like Iran and Pakistan and stuff like that, the temperature's going up. Climate change is a whole nother thing.
I'm saying Dubai is going to be uninhabitable in 2 or 3 years. Just too hot this summertime.
Dubai's uninhabitable now, man, just because of people. You know what I mean?
Mental. Be stuck wearing freshies the whole time.
Oh my God almighty, can you imagine?
Le Frenchie, a favorite of the Saudi prince, apparently.
Yes, that's true. That's absolutely true.
That's right. Not a very popular guy, I hear, and I know nothing about that, nor do I care really.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we go, JJ, any parting words?
So you're joining me on Sunday, right?
It's this Sunday, right?
It is this Sunday.
All right. So shout out the IG channel, and I'll be there. I'll be there Sunday night.
JJ Colborn, just like my name here.
On Instagram, and I'll share it somewhere. We'll let it be known.
Yeah,
so I am going to join JJ on his IG Sunday evening. What time?
It will be 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which you are also in the same time zone, right?
I'm in Toronto, so yeah, Eastern Standard.
Yes. I have a series of Instagram live series on Sundays of Fluvium, which I am debating whether or not to just move that to a different format. I may make it a podcast or take it to YouTube instead, do live streams on YouTube.
Yeah. Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I've never done a live on IG with somebody else. I've done one live stream on my own, but never really had a discussion on IG. So it'll be great. It'll be great.
Yeah,
I look forward to it.
Post it on YouTube so I can watch it as well, because I don't have Instagram.
If Instagram allows for it, because I don't know if you can actually download the recorded video from Instagram. Maybe I can finagle a way to do it.
Do you have a YouTube? Do you post videos on YouTube?
I don't have a YouTube presence yet, but people ask when is it going to happen.
Please do.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be moving, so I don't really want to start any new big project until after I move. So I'm looking at maybe May. Maybe I'll start a YouTube, and I can do live streams as well, and probably do a video, I don't know, once every 2 weeks, once a week, something like that. I'm not going to do the whole sort of, excessive, get in as much content to capitalize on the algorithms crap. I don't have enough time to do that. I can't throw out a video every day.
So you won't be joining the establishment.
I won't be I won't be an establishment YouTuber, unfortunately. I don't have enough time to do that. I'm not looking to get monetized.
Right.
It'll be fun to have a presence on YouTube because I can interact with those who are on YouTube more than anything else. Like there's a lot of folks who are here that I don't know anything about on Instagram. So to connect here would be really great.
Yeah, no problem. We can do that.
Yeah. And you're almost approaching 4 hours. I don't think you've ever had the live this long. I don't think I've seen any of them.
Yeah, we've had a few that have surpassed 4. I think we've done a 6 and maybe a 7, but yeah, they're not uncommon. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, go back. They're all still up.
Still waiting for that 24-hour one, Eugene.
Sorry?
I'm still waiting on a 24-hour live stream one day.
I mean, we can plan it. I definitely need some support if I can round up enough people and you guys are interested. You know, it's not out of the question, a 24-hour stream. I mean, what the hell are we going to talk about, though, for 24 hours?
I don't know.
I don't want to talk about reformulations and vintage Kuros for,
I had my fill for tonight.
Yeah.
I do have to watch that video though. I am genuinely fascinated with the loss of Costas, and I mean I should revisit the Costas that I have, because I do have some of it, and compare and contrast with, like, I have Costasol, which is like a reconstruction of Costas. There's also Costas Olifak, which is made by International Fragrances and Flavors, and they do smell really convincing. But I'm wondering if it's the top notes that are really convincing, but as that sort of dries down, maybe there's something lost in that. So.
And it'll make for a great discussion Sunday evening.
Oh yeah, we could talk it up about Costas, whatever you want to. We'll figure out some topics to.
Absolutely. All right,
JJ, I will send that link to Eugene of the video with Pierre Bourdon talking about the Costas with a timestamp, and then he can send it on to you.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Excellent.
All right, JJ,
No
Woozy, Houdini, who was with us earlier. Rich, thank you all so much.
Thank
It
you
was
so
a
much.
pleasure. Love seeing you all. Rest in peace, Thierry Mugler.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep well until we see you again. Thank you for everything. Guys, good night. We love you. We'll see you soon.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
No.